Another Monday is here and another live stream where we have got quite a lot to talk about. Guys, it has been a recruiting storm across the nation. Miami gets some wins. Ohio State got a big win that we've got to talk about because they got a player I really like. Oklahoma gets a massive win this weekend for an underrated wide receiver on the 24/7 Sports Composite, a 3-star. But, ladies and gentlemen, Coach Sean told you to watch out for this kid on Friday morning, talking about he was really talented. I went back, watched some stuff on him. I can't figure out how he's a 3-star. OU doubles down, gets a 4-star quarterback in the class of 2026 who will probably end up as a 5-star. We're going to talk about that. We also need to talk about, guys, I know they say it's a cold summer in Alabama, but I think it's actually on fire over there, right? Like, I don't know if the Tuscaloosa Fire Department has gotten over there quite yet, but it is ridiculous what's happening in Tuscaloosa right now. Josh Pate is talking about it, and we need to dive into some of these takes. Going to have a lot of fun this evening, and we'll see where the conversation takes us after that. You guys know we always have some topics we want to get to, but listen, this is an all organic show. There's no script sent out. There's nothing like that. We just go, and wherever the conversation takes us. Let's introduce you to the panel. As always, sitting to my I got it right this time. Sitting to my right, we have the one and only Coach Sean. Coach, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Glad to be here. Ready to talk some ball as usual. And just happy to be here with the guys, man.
Happy you're in here, Coach, as always. Jake, how you doing? And you got a little bit of an announcement.
Yeah, man, I'm doing really good. It's awesome to be in here with all of you guys. And man, it's always fun on Mondays, right? Like Mondays are the best days, along with Friday mornings or anytime I get to jump in with any of you guys. But yeah, for me, I got to release my channel this morning. I told you guys it was coming. A lot of work put into that. A lot of work still to do, but yeah, I got to release the channel. Set the tone. Alabama and college football talk, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you guys check it out. I got a welcome video up, and I'll be doing some with these guys as well. Some releases here soon, and getting on live there too. So it's going to be fun, man. And then I think tonight we're also over at Coach Smook Network, so it's going to be a good time, man. Good time. I'm just appreciative of everybody for the help and the support. Everybody in the chat, all you guys here on the panel. I couldn't have done it without you guys. So thank you. It's excited to get started for sure.
Happy you're getting started. Can't wait to see where the channel ends up. I have no doubt it's going to grow quickly. Jason, talk to me, man. How you doing?
Doing good, man. Jason Watkins, Hall of Fame, college football with Jason and the coach. Man, we've been cranking out content just on the daily. Excited about it, man. The closer it gets to game day, and the more goosebumps I get. I just can't wait, man. Just can't wait. Love this stuff. Thanks for having me in again.
And guys, a little bit of an announcement. Our guy RJ, right down here in chat, he will be on Friday morning. RJ, just saw your text. Friday morning, we're going to have RJ on the panel.
Nice.
And that's going to be a ton of fun, right? Great insight. Yes. You don't want to miss that one. Going ahead and giving you all a little bit of a sneak peek as to who will be on the panel. But, guys, we've got a lot of recruiting to talk about. I think we should start with a kid that was at one point committed to Alabama, a kid that decommitted whenever all the pandemonium happened. And listen, I get it, right? I get it. As much as I would love for him to stay, different coaching staff, and that's Zion Grady.
You just not going to introduce me, man? What's going on?
I thought we already went to you.
No.
Well, I saved the best for last. Dance.
All right, guys. I got a few seconds before this camera goes on. Let's see if I can make this work. Work?
Oh,
yeah, I got a few seconds. This thing is absolutely shaky. No, what's going on? What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Jet Sports again back here. I'm just stunned. I'm very, very stunned right now. I'm very, very stunned. That I was just a Play-Doh head. I guess I don't know. But anyway, yeah, Jet Sports. Glad to be back.
I'm so sorry.
Now my camera's lagging. There it is. It's just a bad day. Bad day.
Coach Smook.
Coach Smook.
Oh, Coach Smook. Coach.
Man, look at those glasses, Jay.
Yep.
Good, looking good, brother.
I can't see a damn thing.
Looking good.
Can't see a damn thing, man.
Hey, but we can see you.
We can see
all
you.
that matters.
Those are special. Love them.
I know. I know. This one's on me. Right? This one's on me. I'm not used to having Jance at the last camera spot, and I think it threw me off.
Sorry, guys. I don't know what just happened.
You got to take your Metamucil. Jance, where can the people find all your great content?
Yeah, Jance Sports on YouTube. I just made a recent video. I'm just getting back to the thick of things. I'm trying to figure out this camera situation, but yeah, I'm just getting back to the thick of things now. We just made a video, first kind of day back, and it was awesome. A lot of you guys from the channel was able to kind of stop by, show some love and appreciation. So I really, really appreciate it so much, man. So yeah, Jant Sports on YouTube if you want to find me and some more. If you just want to find some more rants, does not stop. It will not end with that one particular rant. It will continue to go. And yeah, can't wait to do it.
Love it. And I'm telling you, man, you need to clip some of those rants you gave over here. And
Yeah.
Speaking of recruiting, we already have Trojan in here saying Ole Miss 3D commitments today. Ready for that same Lincoln Riley energy for Lane Kiffin, or is this different? Oh, don't get me wrong, Trojan. We're going to talk about that as well. We're definitely going to talk about that because that's never good. What I will say,
are they 3 5-stars or are they?
Well, there was an edge, a wide receiver, and I can't, for the life of me, I cannot find the other one anywhere. I just was on Hayes's profile and I only saw the 2, but I know I saw 3 earlier. We have the wide receiver, Dylan Alfred. You have the edge, Corey Amos. And I just cannot for the life of me find the other one. If anybody in chat can drop that, we have Corey Amos, Dylan Alfred.
Yeah, Jerome Miles.
Jerome Miles?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had those 3. That's not good, right? Like, no doubt about it. You definitely want to be able to lock in those guys. It's going to be interesting to see where they go. Here's the only thing I can tell you, Trojan, because it is different, but at the same time, it's not, right? Like, don't get me wrong. That's not good. Lane has to fix the defense, and Jerome Miles is a wide receiver. Yeah, Jake?
Yeah.
Can you send me that? Because I can't find that anywhere.
Yeah.
If you would text that to me. I don't know what's going on. I thought I had it all situated earlier, but I can't find that anywhere. Appreciate that.
It's 2 wide receivers and
an edge.
And an edge guy.
So the edge guy, absolutely. We can have that conversation. They have got to fix the defense, and you can't fix it unless you are getting a great foundation, which is done in recruiting.
Yeah.
Right? Now, it'd be like this, Trojan. If Lincoln Riley would have lost 2 5-stars on offense, I'd have been like, hey, that's not good, but Lincoln is going to figure out an offense.
That's what I'm saying.
Right? That's where this is a little bit different, and I'll tell you where else it's a little bit different, Trojan. They just won over 10 games last season. They had 2 losses. Lincoln Riley and them regressed last year and are heading into a more difficult conference without Caleb Williams. So you're right. There is, listen, is everything in life, if we ignore nuance and we want to look at everything as black and white, then sure, there's no difference and we can, do that. But this is a channel where we absolutely embrace the nuance. It's why we had a whole debate about Lincoln Riley last weekend and we had a few different opinions. But we have to look at this through nuance. If Lincoln would have lost some offensive guys, I wouldn't be worried. But to lose 2 defensive guys when you absolutely have to fix that defense, it has been the proverbial thorn in the side of Lincoln Riley, not for 1 year, not for 2 years, not for 3 years, not for 4 years. For quite a long time, as my camera just does not want to stop doing.
It's one of those days, man.
Yeah,
like,
this is the 3rd time already.
I feel you. That's why I had to cut mine off.
So no, not good, Coach Sean. I'm going to go to you. What do you think about Ole Miss having 3 guys hit the decommit button in the same day?
I mean, it to me, it's that old adage, you can use your NIL and all these different things and promises and all these great things to boost your recruiting, but can you hold on to the kid? Can you hold on to the kid? You know, can Lane do enough to hold on to these kids, man? Um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the recruiting culture is at Ole Miss. If it's solely based around NIL deals and so based around promises and things of that nature, it
Oh,
never
Sean, we all
works
know.
out. I'm
We know
sorry.
what it
Go
is.
ahead again.
No,
Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah,
know
yeah.
what it is.
Right, right. And you know, to me, that doesn't work in the long term. That doesn't work in the long term. You know, you can get all these kids and pull a Texas A&M, but can you pull it all together at the time when it needs to be pulled together in college football recruiting? And right now, it seems you got a few unhappy kids, hence the decommitments.
Jake, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think, especially with some of those guys who maybe committed a little too early before they get into the process, you know what I'm saying? Like they see all these other dudes going out there and um, they just go and see the excitement out of the programs. And then from their standpoint, they're going, okay, like, is this the right area for me? Is this the right place for me? And I think it's interesting because you do see so much recruiting momentum at some other schools. I mean, Alabama's one of them. Oklahoma, I guess, is one of them. They just had a nice big commit. And then a few other schools who are starting to kind of reel in some guys. I'll be honest, I think Florida's doing a really good job. I think, another school that obviously we all know, like Miami's doing a good job. So it's kind of interesting to see with these guys, and they're going through this process and they get to a point of saying, okay, like, is this the right place for me? You look at Dylan Alfred, I think he's like the number one wide receiver in Alabama, based on, I think that's from On Three's notes, but he decommits, and for him, it's strictly like, hey man, like, I think he got real early in on this process and not sure where I'm at now with my feelings towards this. Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I think that's something some schools are doing a really good job of bringing guys in and sitting there going, hey man, like, this is the experience. This is what our players experience. This is what's going. Other guys are just maybe you come in and there's a lot of like, showboating. There's a lot of energy, but then when you leave after a few weeks or a week or so, all that energy you felt is not maybe there anymore. You know what I'm saying? And then from there, you make that decision to say, okay, like, this isn't maybe for me. And so you can't that's one of the key things in this recruiting aspect is you really, there's nothing wrong with taking your time. There's nothing wrong with saying like, this is for me. But if you're going to say that, like you need to know it's for you, right? Like you need to make sure you really evaluate like how you feel at that moment and not just focus on like the energy side of it. So I do think there's maybe a lot of energy that goes into it and then it dies off and then they're like, okay, doesn't feel the same way. So
yeah, 100%. And I do want to hit this comment right here because Trojan, I don't disagree with you at all right here. Trojan says, none of us know the behind the scenes reasons, but pretty much the national media narrative is that the kids weren't ever not going to Georgia. I mean, listen, I think that even whenever they were committed to USC, it was one of those things where, and I even said this, heck, Jason, you and I actually said this at one time. I think people outside of USC probably were like, Georgia's probably still the favorite for both of those cats, right? And listen,
you go 8-4, 7-5 in your first year in the Big Ten, and you want them to go from Georgia to that and freeze their ass off in the Big Ten? No.
Well, and to your point, because I do agree with you 100%, Trojan. I think that it was pretty much like going to be Georgia or bust for those guys that were up at USC. And to further Jason's point, right now, here's I'm hard on USC and all that, but let me be very honest here, and then Brinsky, I want to hear from you about what's happening at Ole Miss, then Jason and Jan. But a quick aside on USC. One of the reasons why I think some USC fans are like, oh, well, what do you want out of Lincoln Riley? Like, you're being too hard on him. here's the thing. You just had a disappointing season. You go to the Big Ten, and if you're 4th or 5th in the Big Ten, what are you going to recruit off of? And understand, I asked the question like this. If you finish behind Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan, and say a Penn State, are you going to be able to out-recruit Ohio State or Oregon? I mean, both of those have recruiting juggernaut staffs. Lanning is doing a fantastic job. He just hired Samples as the running back coach. Mm-hmm. I've told y'all how high I am on Samples. I think that kid is a young superstar in the coaching industry, and Oregon fans should be very happy that he's on their staff. Everybody else, unless you're one of the 5-10 schools, let's be honest, maybe 10 schools in the nation, you have a really good running back coach. That guy is a dude, right? Like, that guy's a dude.
One of the best recruiters in the country, too.
And he's got the to every DFW high school in Dallas, right? Like, any high school.
His dad's the coach
of Duncanville.
At Duncanville.
His dad is the darn coach at Duncanville. Correct. So, like,
dang, dude.
Yeah, and DeCorian Moore, who I think is going to Texas, right? I do. I've said this. But he also had Oregon on there. Well, you don't think Samples is in his ear? That's going to be an amazing recruiting battle. But here's my thing with USC, and then I'll be done. I'm sorry to be long-winded on this. Why, if you're one of those kids from Georgia, and I understand you could say, oh, well, you got to buy into the vision. If they were on the offensive side, I would completely understand it, Trojan. And I would be like, yeah, no doubt. Because even if they weren't very good last year in terms of overall record, it's Lincoln. He's going to do something offensively. Like, yeah, buy into it, be the catalyst. It's a lot harder to sell that to a kid whenever they could hear that same pitch from Georgia. And they're like, hey, stay home. Your mom and dad can watch every home game you play, every game in the region. And by the way, this is our draft history, not 10 years ago, not 15 years ago, last year, the year before. Right? Like,
meanwhile, Lincoln's canceling games in the SEC when he's recruiting SEC area kids. Attaboy.
Yeah, you don't want to cancel either of those games. And I think that there's some fine. I don't know the ins and outs of all that. And to be honest, I never looked into that, but I don't even know what that's about.
No, the RJ, he got rid of the Ole Miss series last week. That was one.
Yeah, I'd seen that, but I don't know like the reasons, right? Or I don't know what the public reasons are, whether it's like contractual or what it is. So yeah, I need to look into that, but it doesn't look good, right? Like optics and the court of public opinion is a very powerful thing. I never had a law degree, never went to law school, but I worked in law firms, did a lot of, moot court traveling, arguing in front of these federal judges. I can tell you that the court of public opinion is a very powerful thing. RJ says Alonzo Carter, running back coach at Arizona, is a guy as well. People don't know nor talk about. Yeah, RJ, I can't wait to get you on here on Friday because you know all these guys. That's going to be so much fun. But no doubt that Arizona coaching staff, even last year, was really, really good. And I'm excited to see what Fafita and them continue to do. Brinsky, talk to me about Ole Miss.
First off, it's always great to see you guys, always. And it's always beautiful to see Jason talk bad about Lincoln Riley anytime he gets a chance. So I just want to get that out of the way.
It makes it so easy. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, look at what Stephen G said in there about it. He's in his backyard. This is the quarterback whisperer we're talking about, and Jaden O'Neal's going to Oklahoma instead.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's true. That doesn't look good. But, Jason, you know this in the interest of objectivity.
It's not just about him, though, even. I'm just saying a lot of these guys.
No, but if we're speaking just about that quarterback, he doesn't take a quarterback every class. He goes every other class. So if he gets a guy this year, he's not taking a 26 quarterback, even if he wanted O'Neal. He does that every. Now, I don't agree with that. Understand this. I am on record saying take one every year. But that's not what he does. He's famous for getting a guy and then going every other year and not even looking at the quarterbacks in a class. And I don't agree with that. But that's what he does in the interest of fairness. Benji is saying that someone said it was Ole Miss that came to them about canceling. Could be. Like I said, I don't know anything about it, Benji. That's why I haven't really spoken about it.
The whole thing down at Ole Miss, it just seemed like just new recruitment. just basically what you guys were saying. Just feel like they just committed too early. They just I think I heard Andrew Bones say this. Like, you never really hear about nobody having a bad official visit. So the guys just feel loved anytime they go on any type of official visit, and especially if they're not heavily recruited and going to all these other schools, and they're like, oh, a D1 school like Ole Miss want me. Oh, let me commit here. And then other eyes be on them. And now they want to explore a little more. Then it probably be the environment. Are they close to home? Do they really want to be here? Maybe some of those guys wanted to go to Alabama. I don't know. I'm just saying in general. Oh, from the wide receiver, he probably wanted to go to Alabama, but jumped the gun too fast when Nick Saban retired, like a lot of guys did. So it could be a little bit of that, but I don't see it as a big deal for Lane, because Lane is going to be able to recruit guys to come to Ole Miss. He's been doing a great job since he been down there. So I expect him. And then also, we got the transfer portal. It's not really a big deal. I don't even see it as a big deal at all.
Yeah, before I pass it to Jason, what I will say is right now, as we currently sit, Ole Miss is 14th in the SEC in recruiting with 11 commits. Now, listen, we are in June. Nothing but time and opportunity in front of us. But, man, that's a wild place to be if you're Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. Brandon Wilkins with the 499 saying Tim Watson, Andrew Bones. Bama only wants 2 to 3 total wide receivers, but I don't see them turning down any of these 5 stars that are predicted to Bama. I don't either, Brandon. And I say take all of them as long as it doesn't cost Lotsier Brooks, because I'm not going to lie, I like Brooks as much as I like some of these 5-star guys that are coming. The only thing he doesn't have is that he's not, 6 foot plus, but skill set wise, whatever we need to do to keep Lotsier Brooks and add in around him, that's what I want to do. Jason, talk to me about Lane Kiffin and these decommitments.
I wouldn't worry a whole lot. I mean, I think that the way that they're playing the portal, the thing that I feel about, and I'm not trying to say that it doesn't matter at all, because it does. The thing is that you're at it, and the reason I think it matters a little bit is because of the fact that if you're Lane and you're right now, you have a spotlight on you, right? These commits or these recruits, the high school recruits can look and say, okay, they are in a marquee position like this, but they're not always in that position. We're not talking about a program that's going to year after year be able to recruit high school kids the same way that Alabama, Georgia, LSU, any of those other Oklahoma and Texas are going to be able to do it. Certainly not like USC should be able to do it. We're not talking about a blue blood. They will always have to play in the portal for them to be that good. If they're going to compete at the highest level in the SEC, they have to do it one way. They can't rely on getting high school kids because they don't recruit on that kind of history the same way that Bama would, right? Or the same way that even LSU, and LSU's obviously, I know they don't technically pay for players, but we all know better. But so Ole Miss is in a situation where they need to win. I think if they were to win and go to the playoff this year, you could flip some of that stuff around, and that's an opportunity for them to do that right now this year. In the long run, I think that they have to do some proof of concept here on their end to get into the high school scene and really kind of build that way. I think there's some programs that are always going to be able to do better in high school recruiting than others. They're just not generally one of them, right? I mean, if they're in the 15-20 range, which they usually are, that's pretty good. That's better than most of the country. The thing is if they kind of went all in this year and got the guys in the portal and paid them big, right? They got all their boosters to open up their wallets. Now you better get your butt in there and get to the playoff and probably get deep in the playoff, or else these boosters probably don't continue doing that.
And dare I say, Jason, that part of the reason why, and even me, because this is a tough one for me. And C-Dub, we're going to hit this because I think this is a great discussion point after Jance goes. We're going to hit this comment. You could be the number 12 recruiting class in the nation, and you're sitting there thinking like, oh man, we just did something. And granted, with the extended playoffs, it doesn't matter as much. But you could be 12th in the nation and you're 7th in the SEC. You're 8th in the SEC. That's where it's like, oh, I look around at my peers and I'm middling compared to, that's where this is. That when people ask what's the difference in the SEC, that's the difference, right? And it's part of the reason, Jason, to your credit and to Oklahoma's credit, Brent's been top 10 every single. You gotta be like top 15 if you're really wanting to run. Now the transfer portal equalizes it, but it is important to be able to recruit as well. Shout out to the Fan Addict Sports Network. If you haven't subscribed over there, be sure to go subscribe over there. They do great stuff. Shout out to Coach Smook, right? Does great stuff over there. Says Ty sounds like a bot. Is my mic not good?
It's just choppy. It's just everybody's internet today for everybody is, I don't know what's going on. Like I said, Russia's trying to hack us or something. I don't know.
0 SEC championships is what they have. 0. Chance, talk to me about Ole Miss and these decommitments, man. Should people be worried? How should they view it?
See, there it is. My mic. There we go. My mic.
Oh, I got you.
I see what they try to do to me. No, I'm just laughing at these Ole Miss fans. I'm not surprised at all what's going on with them. Coach Sean, I'm telling you, all the Bama fans can attest to this. Coach Sean, Brensky, Kimberly, all the Bama fans, Jay Townsend, all of them can attest, because I've been saying this for months when Ole Miss fans were laughing about our recruiting class, about how we were in the 50s and 60s after when Nick Saban left. What and if people that were part of the live stream, you can call me out if I'm lying. I said just be patient, everything will work itself out. We will wait for their downfall, because eventually what's going to happen is something massive is going to happen and the tide is going to turn. And look what happened. All of a sudden, Alabama, number 2 in recruiting, with possibly now moving up to number 1, and Ole Miss, who right after Nick Saban got fired was top 5 in the country in terms of recruiting, and now they're 56. Oh, that's karma, baby. That is called karma. I said, just be patient, take your time. Everything is going to sort itself out. See, people just think when I say Judgment Day, that I talked about the transfer portal during the April period. I wasn't just talking about that. It was talking about the hell that was going to be reckoned with around that time period. That was going to be the period where we could get to the summer where all of a sudden the change of the guard was going to happen. And that's exactly what happened. My prediction came absolutely true. Ole Miss, you deserve this for what you did to Joey Chestnut by getting banned because you decided to put on a rival Frank brand hot dog eating brand. You did this to Joey Chestnut. He can't compete in that July 4th because you had your spring game and you decided to ruin his sponsorship deal. So I blame you, Ole Miss, for that. I have no sympathy whatsoever about what has been going down for the Ole Miss Rebels, aka the Glizzy Eaters, because that's exactly what has happened to them. Listen, Lane Kiffin's going to do his thing in the transfer portal. He is going to do his thing in the transfer portal. He's going to recruit extremely well, right? The rankings of recruiting, for the most part, though, guys, it's going to be fine. They'll hop in the top 20, maybe get inside the top 15. But in terms of getting in top 10 and top 5, oh, hell no. Hell to the no. And listen, they have done everything in their power. They decided to literally hosted a field day during their spring game. They decided to have a hot potato sack contest during that time period. They decided to play basketball on the football field in order for them to impress their recruits. They have done everything in their power in terms of marketing on Instagram and Twitter. They have spent millions of dollars on their marketing to attract these recruits. They have done everything in their power to get kids interested and focused in the program, and it is failing. It is failing for them. And all the other schools that were down bad, that were top 30, top 40, even worse than that, such as Alabama, all of a sudden, everything is starting to turn itself up. I'm glad Courtney Morgan wrote Cold Summer and why that was. And it's funny, you can go back to his tweets. He tweeted about Cold Summer when he got here in February. He tweeted about that for months, and he tried to tell y'all what was about to happen. And now all these other schools that were down the gutter, they started to get their rhythm. They started to just take their time, find their place, and now all of a sudden they're dominating recruiting as usual. And everyone kept saying Rutgers was going to finish as a top 10 recruiting class. And listen, Rutgers got their classes. I think is good. It's a solid recruiting class, but let's be honest. By the end of this thing, it won't be top 10 or it used to be top 5. Now it's top 10. No, I'm sorry. Now it's like top 12 or top 13-ish. Let's be honest. By the end of this thing, it's going to be like 25th, 26th, or even worse by the time the signing day even occurs. I hate when people do this. This is why when it comes to recruiting, I just kind of, for the most part, I'm not as focused as much as anymore because these fans think they have a chance to compete with Bama and some of these other top programs. And they always find themselves in the gutter just because they had a little breathing room in the early parts. They deserved it. This is what happened when you talk this much trash, you old Piss fans, and now you are down low. You are down low. And USC fans, don't even get me started on USC fans. They're finding out how trash Lincoln Riley is, how he actually is in terms of the recruiting process. I have no sympathy for Ole Miss fans. They will continue to be on down the gutter, and for the most part, in terms of recruiting, listen, they'll dominate the transfer portal. I wouldn't be shocked at all if they make the playoffs. Will the playoffs help in terms of recruiting? Yeah, it's going to help it a little bit, but they will never, ever be in the top 10 in terms of recruiting. Why? Because you have to compete with the likes of Bama, Oklahoma, Texas, all these other recruiting giants. You will never get in there despite how many millions of dollars that you will spend in terms of your marketing. You will never do it.
Let this man cook.
You know how sad it is as a fan base to have to do all of that and look, and you aren't going to be able to out-recruit a Georgia who's just going to keep going along doing what they do. You're not going to out-recruit a Bama who is doing different things now, but make no mistake, that's just the changing of the guard, right? Like, this is just what Alabama is looking like now. Some of these schools that prematurely danced on Bama's grave, and listen, once again, we're in June. Nothing but time and opportunity. So things change in college football recruiting. Bama might have a decommitment. I wouldn't expect Bama's class to just fall off the face of the earth, right? I don't see it. Some of these people who prematurely danced on the grave, they've had to pull out all the stops, and now they look up, and it's like, oh, wow, Bama's number 2 in the nation in recruiting and just got 4 crystal balls for 5 stars. That's tough. That's tough. Now, we had a really interesting question that I want to quickly hit. I thought that this was really cool, right? Because I think it's a really good conversation piece. Would y'all rather have a great transfer portal class or a great recruiting class? That's what's saving Lane, right? Let me make this very clear. I think if you can get a great transfer portal class, you do, but also great transfer portal class to me is subjective. Right? It's just like this. A few years ago, Georgia took a few guys in the transfer portal. They didn't take many. If you looked at the ranking, they weren't ranked amongst the best. But if you look at what they actually did in the transfer portal, what they actually got in the transfer portal, they had an amazing portal haul. Absolutely amazing. It was the year Fanatic Sports, you can help me out, where Tyke Smith came over. Right? Y'all didn't take a lot in the portal. But what you got in the transfer portal, was it impactful? Bama's the same way. Go ahead, Brinsky.
Oh, no, go ahead.
But Bama's the same way, right? Bama's the same way. They would take 5-6 guys in the portal, but the guys they took, man, were they impact players. In my opinion, if you can help it, recruiting is how you build the foundation. The transfer portal is the Band-Aid to which you can help supplement your team with what you need outside of recruiting. That's just the way I look at this. But recruiting is how you build your foundation. Coach Sean, thoughts on this?
I mean, for me, it's not even a question. Give me the best recruiting class. I don't give a damn about no transfer portal. I mean, just me personally. We won 6 championships without a transfer portal for real. Maybe dipping and dabbing, like you said, Ty, here or there. And I understand in this day and age, you do need to get a player or 2 here or there for some depth pieces, possibly even a starter. But for me, nothing replaces high school recruiting. Nothing. Coach Prime is finding that out. I want to see Colorado do well, but you cannot build for the future by getting a gang of kids who don't know each other from different schools who've already played, who got 45 different mindsets of how to play this game. You want to take a high school kid and build him up. Build him up. By the time this kid's a sophomore, some junior, some senior, this kid's gonna be an All-American. If I had to pick between both, give me the recruiting class. Give me the top recruiting class any day of the week over the transfer portal. It's like you said, Ty. I would use the transfer portal in spurts to fill spots, even to fill a position or two. But you can't build a team through a top transfer portal class. That may go well for you, and it may go terrible for you.
Yeah, Jake.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one. I think overall, like with sorry, can you guys hear me okay? It's not echoing, is it? Am I good?
I hear you.
Okay.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I'm in this new room that has like nothing in here, so I can hear echo. But but no, I think that's interesting, right? As far as the transfer portal, because the transfer portals really should be used as like a depth filler, right? Like it should be used as, here's where areas that we need the depth regarding practice. Here's where we need the depth even into games. And if you're lucky enough to recruit at a higher level, even out of the transfer portal, you can utilize that as not just a depth filler, but also in a rotational standpoint from the depth of the roster and what you rotate in the games. I kind of used Washington a little bit last year. They did a good job of that. They had to, right? They had to. Even the year before that, they had to. So some of these schools is the recruiting transfer portal more important than recruiting the high school players from like a young recruiting class. It depends on the school, I think. I think that's something that you really have to pay attention to regarding how quickly do you need to reach a level of success. Now, at the same time, for long-term success, the recruiting portal is not the way to go, right? It allows you to fill short-term gaps, right? But as far as long-term success, foundation, right? Because a foundation is created through recruiting classes. And in order to have like a solid foundation, especially for a newer coach or a coach that's been there for a while, right? You need to make sure your recruiting classes are on point. Like the greatest coaches out there will tell you, it's funny because I was listening to, was it Barry Switzer, right? Talk about like Nick Saban the other night and Paul Bear Bryant. And one of the things Barry Switzer had brought up, the reason everyone has that success during the time frame that they had it, and this was an interview from like a while back, right? But he goes, the reason everyone was having the success, even why I had the success at Oklahoma, was due to the fact of consistent recruiting classes that allowed me to be foundational. Along Nick Saban has the same thing, consistent recruiting classes that allowed him to be foundational. And it's funny because if it's like when you go to hire somebody, if you hire somebody who has all this experience, it's good at times, as long as they have an open mind and they're willing to look at things differently. Let's say you hire a guy though, who only does his way and his way is the only right way. It makes it very difficult to implement what you want to do then within your team when all you have is a bunch of people who only have one way of doing it. They don't see any other way of doing it. Now, the reason I compare that is in comparison to like hiring a brand new hire, right? You can train them the way you want them to learn it, how you want them to do it, and you set a foundational learning platform for them to grow upon. So the same thing goes in the recruiting portal versus recruiting classes. The portal, you're taking guys who already have a foundation, they've already learned something. Now, does it match your style? Right? Can you continue to build on it, or is it more stubborn? This is just the way I play. Compared to like recruiting guys from high school, they're more open to saying, okay, this is what I want to learn it all. If you're recruiting the right guys, I want to learn it all. I want to buy into the message and I want to set myself up for success. A great example of that is what the guys are doing who came in last year at Alabama from the 2024 recruiting class to how they're recruiting the 25 class, because it's not so the coaches are doing a hell of a job, but the players are doing an even better job. That's why you're seeing what you're seeing. And it's spoken about in each one of these guys in their interviews and what they're saying. I have to say, Like that's where I do give Oklahoma some props too, because their players are doing the same thing. Now they may be upper level guys, but it may be past guys, but they're doing the same type of thing. But Alabama's just doing it really, really good, and they're putting guys in there, and guys are coming in there like, man, I can be a part of this. Like I can join these guys. I can be me and be loved. There's something to be said about just being you and being cared about, right? And that's where the recruiting class is. I think it's foundational. It's needed to win. So that's more important.
Let me address this real fast because I think Benji might have selective hearing or just hears what he wants to and takes what he wants to. He says, I just find it funny that the Bama guy acts like Saban didn't help himself last year with the transfer portal guys he brought in. It shored up his offensive line. They didn't. Didn't I lead this off by specifically saying that some teams out there take a select few guys in the transfer portal, maybe 6, 7, and they come in and so Benji, that's what we call yapping. That's what we call yapping, my brother in Christ. I can't help you. You don't help yourself.
Trojan man, too, man.
There
He's
go
all
Ty.
yapping.
Here comes Ty.
Not you, man. Nobody here has acted like Bama didn't take in anybody from the transfer portal.
Fact.
Nobody's acted like that, Benji. There hasn't been a take here stating that Alabama has snubbed their nose to the transfer portal. That hasn't been a take. And I get it, right? Like there's this notion that you can say something and then a fan of a different team is going to try and run to the most inconclusive logical conclusion you could get from it. But no, this isn't just like a hot take factory. This is one of those places where we all like to come together to have principled conversations about what we see. Bama also gets to cherry pick. Yeah, but no, don't get me wrong. Just my damn opinion. Like that's certainly true. That's certainly true. Benji says he just said, I don't care about no portal. Bama didn't. But where is that wrong, right? Now college football has changed.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that is true.
But there's a line. There's a line that we've seen. If you cross that line, you're not going to win national championships as of yet. It's not to say it can never happen. But if you're playing in the portal, solely in the portal, and you're not building – just like the NFL, the best teams in the NFL, what do? They build through the draft. They supplement with free agency. That's exactly what they're doing at the best levels in college football too. You build through high school recruiting, which would be the draft, and you supplement in free agency. It's not hard, folks.
And the question was which one?
We want to make a bunch of excuses for these guys that can't do either, but you know. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Coach. My fault.
No, I'm sorry. The question was which one? That was the question. Of course, we know you need both in today's world, right? But the question was which one would you rather build your team through? Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you this is a detail that a lot of people may not know. If you come off and just start recruiting a bunch of transfer portal kids, I don't know how it is in Colorado, but in the South, high school coaches will get pissed at you for that. Yep. I'm telling you what I know personally.
You're going to start losing them, right? You're going to start losing those kids just to that.
And they'll remember it the next year, and they'll detour their kids to go somewhere else. If you take a gang of these transfer kids and not take the kids who had previous offers from a previous coaching staff, and you'll piss the high school coaches off, man, right? And they'll remember that. Trust me.
I don't even know how this is even.
I love you, Benji. Just had to have my fun.
Yeah, man. Recruiting is, I love it, man. That's what you want. Like we all have said, like that's the foundation. Like just look at all the national championship teams through the transfer portal. I'm about to say you can just look at Alabama. We'll just use Alabama transfer portal last year. We got Trey Amos. That was a big piece for us. Then getting Trez Marshall, CJ Dupree. Those guys they were just like pieces that we needed. But everybody else came in through recruiting.
Yep.
Like Nick Saban recruited those guys straight out of high school. Like you just can't just win off a bunch of recruits and then guys like Cole said, you're not familiar with those guys for real. But if you recruit those guys, they know each other from freshman year to sophomore year. Like they go to lunch together, they go to class together, they practice together, they do everything together. It's a bond. I feel like if you get a bunch of transfer guys, they really here for one reason only. Like, I'm just gonna be here probably for 1 year, more than likely, and then I'm gone. And the team that I think I won't say most of us, but I say a good portion of us have like the greatest chance of winning this year, Ohio State. Look at all their guys. They did a lot in the transfer portal, but majority of their guys.
Urban Meyer did Ryan Day a favor, didn't
he? Yeah. But all his guys, he recruited. Yeah. Even though he got some real good pieces. Some real good pieces.
Yeah.
But some game-changing pieces. But, hey, I'm always going to go with recruiting, man. Recruiting is always going to be the lifeblood.
100%. Shout out to Stink Ass Cat. $10 donation saying when you win like Bama, nothing detractors can say. And it's not just Bama stink ass, right? Like, I love that name so much.
Stink ass cat.
It's so funny for me to say every single time, but there's a handful of teams out there that like absolutely they're just operating at a level right now where it's like, okay, what are you going to say to them, right? Like, what are you going to say to them? They're just going to be able to continue going. I have some questions starred, guys. So if you're in chat right now, we've got a lot of people in here. We have got 246 people watching live right now. Be sure to hit that like button. Thank you very much for being in here. Shout out to everybody in here. Don't get me wrong. I would love to call you out by name individually, but we would be here forever if I did that. But I do appreciate all of you. More than you know. I've starred some questions. If you have questions and we haven't seen them, I've always said this, right? Shout out to Anthony, because Anthony does this. And I know some people in chat will say, Anthony, you've asked like 5 times. I tell him to do it, right? Yeah. Because like I want to be able to answer your question. So you're not going to offend me in the slightest if you've asked a question like 5 times. When we get around to it for the most cohesive content, we will get around to that question, but I want to thank Stink Ass Cat for that. And then Wesley, we're going to talk about that here in a little bit, right after we hop into some Bama recruiting. Thank you for that $4.99 donation. I have your comment starred. We will certainly hit that here in a second. But Jason, I wanted to go to you and then Jance. Portal or recruiting?
Yeah, it's simple to me. Just like I said a minute ago, if you're talking about the draft, and in the NFL, it's the draft. This is where you build. That's where you get your foundation. You plug holes where you have to. It's the same thing with college football. With the way things are now and the way that they're doing the NIL, and things are about to change even on that end of it as well. We saw at Oklahoma today, they announced that they're going in-house with all the NIL stuff. It's one single platform to do it. This is what I mean. This is gonna happen everywhere. You know, this is gonna end up happening everywhere. But in the end, you better get the guys that are in high school, and you better be able to develop them too. You better be able to do both. But if you don't, if you're just, look, you can't expect mercenaries to come in and deal with hard stuff. I've said it a bunch of times. There's a difference in some coaches are recruiting based on flash. Some coaches are recruiting based on it's about to be really hard. If you want to win, if you're not coming here to expect to have the hardest time of your life to be a football player, then don't come. That actually works with competitors, right? That builds a foundation of you can go win. Or you could just toss a Lamborghini out there and see how that works. But, it is what it is.
Like you said with the NFL, I'm about to say the perfect example of that is the Kansas City Chiefs. Mm-hmm. Just look at all their players. Majority of them players came through the draft. And if they added somebody, they just added just a couple of pieces. That's it. So
no, and I mean, I'm not saying that you don't get in the portal because you need to. You can look at two sides of this thing. You've got your Colorados and your Ole Misses because they've been heavy pretty much every cycle, right? Again, I feel like Ole Miss is kind of a different story because it's Ole Miss. You're not going to battle with Alabamas of the world and the Georgias of the world in high school recruiting unless you're just dumping the bag. And there's a line that you got to cross there. There's a line that you can't cross there, that you have to make sure the guys in your locker room stay happy as well. So, but then you go to the other side of it when you've got guys like Dabo Swinney who won't use the portal at all. Meanwhile, you've dropped out of the top 10 the last few years in recruiting, and you don't even supplement a little bit. So you're not in the top 5 anymore, and now your biggest competitors are using the portal. So there's two sides to it, but I think it has to be a balance of both. You can't play one and not the other. But you definitely, if you're going to play one and not the other, I do believe that the one place you better play is in high school recruiting.
100%. Jance, talk to me. Portal or recruiting?
You want to do recruiting, but like everyone was saying here on the panel, you got to find a balance. Pretty much the only school that we can remember so far, Florida State is the anomaly. And Florida State is the anomaly because they were able to, because they had a phenomenal 23, they had a phenomenal 22 transfer portal class, and they had a phenomenal 23 transfer recruiting class. They were somehow, some way, able to retain players from what they had the previous season going into last season. I mean, it doesn't happen, right? If for the most part, a lot of transfer portal kids, they're one and done. If they can't find the way to get themselves in the football field, or even if they're on the football field, they play for a little bit and they're still going to declare for the NFL draft. It doesn't happen. Michigan's another school that's done it, but they didn't have like elite transfer portal class. As a matter of fact, their 23 class was really good, very, very good. But a lot of those players that played on that national championship team were all of them were super, like a lot of them were seniors. A lot of them were 4th, 5th year guys that been through the program, right? Matter of fact, a lot of young guys also played, guys that will be returning back this particular season. Florida State, I mean, look what they try to do this year. They're trying to, their recruiting class wasn't bad, but you saw how many players decided to go to the NFL draft, decided to leave that they had recruited through the portal, and now they're gone, and now they're trying to replicate that for what they did. And they had a really, really good transfer portal class, but the problem with that is that it just doesn't hit. Like, it is rare to find a Jared Verse through a portal, coming from a small school, coming from Albany, a very small school, impactful guy. But it's rare to turn that, but it's rare to find that all of a sudden, as soon as he stepped through the door, he was one of the best players in college football. He just couldn't get the shine because he played at a small school. Or Braden Fisk, who I've seen personally when he played at Western Michigan. I knew that. I'm like, if this dude was at Alabama, he would be an animal because of how quick he is, how explosive he is in the line of scrimmage. Even though he doesn't have like the long, he doesn't have long arms. He actually has like very short arms. He knows how to take advantage of that and utilize a lot and utilize his hand usage. Like, he's very damn good. But Florida State were able to land him. Remember, there was a fight to get him. Like, it's rare to find players like that can make not just immediate contributions, but become all-American sort of players. Greedy Vance, Trey Benson, not Jordan Travis, but Johnny Wilson, Keon Coleman. Like, it's like you not only were you able to get these players, but you retained them for 2 years. Like, that's rare. Florida State was an anomaly. And now they're trying to find a way to replicate that production that they lost with other transfer assets. Like, I like Rhoda Williams to death. Do I think he's better than Trey Benson? Hell no. Like, some of their linebackers and other receivers that they were able to get, are they better than Keon Coleman or Johnny Wilson when healthy? Is DJ Uiagalelei better than Jordan Travis? No, I don't think he's better than Jordan Travis. He has nowhere near the accuracy, and I don't think Jordan Travis. Listen, there's a reason why he would have fell as a day 3 guy, even if he never would have torn that leg. DJ Uiagalelei has in terms of arm talent, he's up there with Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes. He's up there in terms of his arm talent. He has nowhere near the precision and the sort of progression that we've seen from some of the other past quarterbacks. He's not there yet. And so you are not guaranteed from the transfer portal of getting you're not getting a finished product. And this is what people have to understand when they say, oh, we're number one in the transfer market. Okay, you're number one in the transfer market, but is he a finished product? Because that's what you're gambling on. You're risking 2 to 3 years that you could have got from a high school recruit you're gambling most likely 1 year. Well, that kid better be a finished product. He better do something that my program didn't have last year. Because if I just get a guy from the transfer market from a small school and he ends up being average and he ends up staying and you're like, okay, you know, hopefully he can stay for another. He's not going to stay there for 3 years. We all know that most likely he's not going to stay there for 3 years. He's most likely going to be there for 2 years anyway. Because I think when people go in the transfer portal for the most part, or no, I don't know. This is actually a fact. Majority of kids that have entered the transfer portal, they average 1 year. 1 year they average at that particular school before they either go somewhere else or they go to a different, or they go off to the NFL. When you transfer, you have shown clear as all hell, and I don't blame kids from doing this, but you're not loyal to that particular program. You want to go to the league, and I will do that by any means necessary. That's what they're proving. That's what they're showing you. And so Florida State, that is the anomaly. What this is, and again, Ole Miss, they've had great transfer portal classes, but this is what you have to understand is if you can't get the job, you had a phenomenal transfer portal class. You're guaranteeing that this team makes the playoffs because there's no way in hell looking at the recruiting rankings and then looking at their transfer market, there is no way in hell that if Lane Kiffin comes out saying, we're just going to take our time. Our goal is to, go 9-3, just have a better record. You're not saying that. You're going for it all. That's what Miami tried to do. That's what Florida State. And listen, I got to give Coach Norvell credit because he came out in his press conference as soon as they got all those players, he came out and said, "Oh, we're going for it all. We went 10-2 last year. You bet your ass we're going for it all," and it didn't work. Right. And it's nothing that they could have done. They should have made the playoffs. Nothing they could have done about it, but they went for it all. But if we're going to sit up here and say that you're going to build your program for 3 to 4 years based off of transfer portal rankings, oh, you are a fool. Because Miami tried to do that. Remember, Miami had one of the best all-time classes. They had 3 first-rounders in the defensive line. And Phillips, Rousseau, and I forgot they had somebody else. But they had 3 first-round picks on the defensive line. What did it get them? 6 wins, 7 wins. They couldn't even get to 8 wins. And they had an all-time great transfer portal class for 2 years of running in a row. So this is what people have to understand. Recruiting is still the basis. You still want to get high school recruits. You still want to get into a parent's household and form a relationship with the coaches. That is what matters. Not getting a kid that you're going to get that let's be honest, nowadays, is he going to stay there for about a year? He might be. We don't know. So recruiting has to be the end goal, not just transfer portal market. Again, it's great to have a balance, right? Michigan improved it. Florida State did it as well. But again, they're the anomaly, right? You want to have what Alabama had. You want to have what Georgia has, right? You want to fill in the blanks with a few missing pieces here and there. But that's not a long-term goal. That's just, okay, we're going to have this guy in for about a year. But we know that position group, that's the priority. We got to focus on that because clearly it's a weakness if we got to get somebody from the transfer portal to kind of cover in a hole where normally we could fill that in. So that it's a fill-in. It's a fill-in. It's not permanent. That's just the way it should be. That's the way it is.
Killtack9 with the $20 saying the transfer portal hasn't shown to fix a program yet. LSU's defense, Colorado at 4 wins. Ole Miss and OSU will be deciding factor or fully building with the transfer portal. I think one of the issues is that whenever you are so heavy in the transfer portal, you're almost rebuilding your roster year on end. And we just talked about all these teams, but who won it this year? Michigan. And we can talk about the whole Connor Stallion situation. Fine. We can talk about that.
Come on.
But do you want to know what else we have to talk about if we're having the conversation of Michigan? How senior was that team? How much of the major relationships, right, did they have on that team that allowed them to be able to overcome a Washington, to be able to overcome an Alabama, to beat an Ohio State? That was built on relationships. And so I to answer the question of the portal, I think that you have to be able to use it. I think you have to be able to navigate it. That's where we are at in college football. You have to get your wins. Mm-hmm. But recruiting, I think, is where you're doing your real heavy lifting, right? RJ says Alabama and Georgia has 5+ years of being built, and as a coach, you don't even get 5 years. That's true. That's true. And Shoddy was in here earlier, just my damn opinion sports. He had something that I really did agree with, where he was like, hey, if you're a first-year head coach and you want to win now, Angel also said this, hit the portal. I do not disagree with, if you're a brand new head coach, hit the portal.
Yeah,
Rebuild.
Well, that's
But
it.
if you're
I was
Sometimes
just
you
gonna,
have to, right? You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
yeah, and that was actually just something I was going to say. It's an interesting comment by RJ, right? Because I mean, you're spot on. Like, the truth is, when it comes down to it, is you have to win now. Like, we've gone away from these coaches having like time to build a program. You know, it's going to be interesting. I'll be honest, this is where I really sit and I watch what's going to happen with forgive me, I'm blanking, Billy Napier at Florida, right? Because this is exactly that type of comment. This is exactly what is going to happen. Are they going to allow him? Because he's actually, you listen to guys come off of the recruiting trips there. Granted, everybody says good stuff, but I do think that they have something in the locker room going really good for them, and they are building. They had to redo that whole foundation. They had to wipe the house out and redo the whole damn foundation. Okay, like it's kind of wild, and we're gonna see if that is going to become a trend again, right? Where they allow these coaches, when the program coach after coach has not been successful, if they allow these coaches that time frame, they need to rebuild, because a rebuild does not happen overnight. Like, yeah, you can go out and try to fix, Keelan DeBoer is probably one of the rare occasions, right, where rare coaches where he walks into Washington. It doesn't happen everywhere, where he takes them within 2 years to a national championship when he walked in the season before, they're like 4-8. Right. So, and yeah, I mean, look, and I know everyone doesn't have love for the Gators, but I like Keelan. I like Keelan DeBoer, of course I do, but I like Billy Napier, and I like what he's trying to accomplish, even with all the smoke, right? Because there is a lot that gets thrown at him, and you have to give him credit that he is still playing the game and working his ass off at a high level to show that once I establish the foundation, I will be okay. Right. So I think that's one of the keys, is like, do we get back into a trend that we used to see back in the day, and why coaches stayed for so long? Coaches aren't staying long is because if they lose, they get fired, and then they get demoted. Then you're going in as like a freaking offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, an analyst in some situations, right? Like, here's the things, man. Like, I'm just saying, from a standpoint of like, if we see this trend move in a different direction, if these teams really want long-term foundation, they're going to find coaches and they're going to put them in place and within contracts that are favorable to them, so they can actually build to win. Because you don't win overnight. It's very rare, right? Like, again, Alabama is. We need to move them aside, because they are in a rare situation than what most teams run into, right? They do. They're sitting in a very rare situation. How often do you go get a coach that just went to national championship after you just had the greatest coach of all time? Doesn't happen. We've already discussed this, right?
And then we can kind of even, and it's not the same, Jake, but it is a bit more of a nuanced conversation, right? Georgia with Richt, right?
I was just about to say that.
We look at Georgia with Richt, and I think history, because of what, and rightly so, because of what Kirby has done, I think some people tend to look back at Richt and they were like, oh, he was awful. No.
10 games a year.
No, he was a darn good coach. Georgia is one of the few teams that had a solid coach and ended up getting a better coach, right? Like, that doesn't happen often. And in no way, shape, or form am I saying Kalen DeBoer is going to be better than Nick Saban. That's not my contention here. What I am saying, though, is it's very rare to go from a head coach that's really good to a head coach that's damn good, right? And Mike, I think you're right. Who couldn't recruit? Yeah, I think you're right, Mike. Kirby is not only a great coach, maybe the last of the CEOs in college football. I'm going to be interested to see if Georgia even moves. And fan addict coach Shoddy, feel free to please jump in here. Does Georgia have a general manager? Right. And I don't know that they do because Kirby's, in my opinion, like they don't. Okay. Because Kirby, right. Like he's the last of, I don't think that after Kirby, in terms of his age, we're going to see guys be able to GM and be the head coach like Kirby does. That's just not how this is operating anymore. RJ says we're looking at the Bama right now, but look back when Saban came in, they was horrible mid. Everybody was expecting Saban for 15 years to one. Yeah, 100%. 100%. I completely agree with this. I had a take about a year ago, RJ, that was very similar to this, that the SEC has been Nick Sabanified and that they have put so much pressure on these coaches to be Nick Saban. And it's like, buddy, you're not. You're not Nick Saban. You're not Nick Saban. Trojan, are you saying this upcoming season? Because I don't think that the USC Trojans have the second hardest schedule in college football this coming season. Florida's schedule is way worse. I think Oklahoma's schedule is worse. I think there are a few teams whose schedule is worse. I thought, and let me check on that, but I thought USC, when we looked at it,
you guys got it easy because you don't have to go into like any hardcore,
that's what I thought when we broke down the schedule. It wasn't like I wasn't looking at it thinking, oh my God, you have to go to the big house. You got to go to the horseshoe. You got to.
If the publication is Fox leaning or SEC leaning.
I'm about to say from Sports Illustrated, they got them at 9.
Okay, at 9. That's fair.
They got Arkansas as the second hardest schedule.
You're not getting a running back, chicken. Y'all have enough running backs over there, right? OU's got enough running backs. You're not getting a running back.
They got Oklahoma at 3. That's crazy.
Oklahoma's got a really tough schedule, man. A really tough schedule.
It does. And Trojan Fight is right about what he's saying right there. It's not always that the preseason schedule matches up to what it is at the end of the year.
True.
You can say whatever you want right now, but some teams are going to be a lot better. Like I would tell you that, even Missouri. In the case of if you got to play Florida, I mean, look, I don't think that Florida is dead in the water. I just don't. They've got a lot of talent that they've brought in. They could go through and win some games,
Well, I also worry if Florida fires Napier, because correct me if I'm wrong, the schedules for this year and next year, they're flipped, right? So it's like you're going to have a very analogous schedule. If you fire Napier right now, your next head coach is in the middle of a rebuild, and he's going to have a hellacious schedule in front of him. So I think we could see Napier last one more
DJ
year.
Lagway.
Unless it's an abject disaster.
I just don't. As much as I know Georgia folks want Billy Napier to stay, but it's virtually impossible for him to stay this year. As hot as that seat is, and then you got that 5-game schedule at the end.
Fans are wild about that. They'll find
and you got to win all those games. You got to beat LSU. You got to beat Florida. Not Florida. Florida State, Georgia, Tennessee. That is going to be hard to do.
They got all the big teams in the state of Florida. They open with Miami. They play UCF with KJ Jefferson.
But that don't mean we know that don't mean nothing. He doesn't have a squad for that.
No. What I'm getting at is that. They need to. I don't think you can go through and win 4 games and get away with it if you're Billy. But I think that you better. I think if you win 6, you're safe because of the fact that, like he said, you lose DJ Lagway. And at what point does he pull the trigger on that? Because DJ Lagway may be that guy. So if you're struggling early in the season, you don't have time to mess around and wait on it. If you're Billy, you need to try to go see, at least show something. To where you got something to look forward to next year if you keep us around. But their schedule next year is basically the same, except it goes to the road in a lot of those situations.
Yes, that's my point, right? Like if you get rid of him, you have a new head coach who's in the middle of a rebuild, who has a hellacious schedule.
On the road schedule, too. I mean, it's like seven that swap.
They're in between a rock and a hard place, right?
Tough.
If they make a bowl game, I will give you $2. I will give you $2 to build a statue of Billy Napier
Yeah.
outside that day. If you make a bowl game, High Top, we got to get High Top on here, guys. There are a few YouTube channels you need to check out.
He said they're winning them all.
But I love Shelton, man. I
Me
love
too,
that
man.
guy. There's
I am
a
a
few
fan of High
channels.
Top Sports, bro. I'm a
Few
fan of
channels
High
y'all
Top.
need to check out. You need to coach.
Breaking news.
What happened
Yeah, I saw that. Man.
Isaiah Gibson.
to Georgia?
Yep.
Hey, good for Georgia. Good for
Yeah.
Georgia. Hell of a player. Vegas Insider over under 4.5 for Florida. Congratulations to the Fan Addict Sports Network. Congratulations to Shoddy. Y'all just got a hell of a player.
Mhm.
And Boomer says shocking. Yeah, I think we could probably have forecasted that one. Want to hit some comments real fast, some questions before we go into the next topic. Killtack9 says OSU better pray Seth learns how to snap with those transferred quarterbacks. And that was the silliest thing I've ever heard come out of anybody's mouth whenever Ryan Day was like, it's the cadence. You got to get the ball from point A to point B. It's not cadence. Get out of here with that, right? Like, that was ridiculous. I wanted to hit some of these real quick. Keenafy asks, as far as actual accomplishments, how far ahead is Kirby ahead of Dabo, if at all? This is a great question because Dabo has 2 rings. Kirby is doing great. I'd put Kirby ahead of Dabo because he's adapted. Like, I think that Kirby is better built for where college football is heading than is Dabo. Now, that's not to I'm hard on Dabo. And I wouldn't be hard on Dabo if I didn't genuinely think he should be one of the premier names and that he is a premier name in college football. But I'd put Kirby ahead of Dabo just because if I was creating a team right now and you said head coach Kirby or Dabo, I'm not thinking. I mean, I'm going to say Kirby so quick, right? Like, I just think he's better suited. Anybody on panel, would you take Dabo over Kirby? And if so, why?
Hell no.
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not. Oh no.
You got to play the game. You got to play the game that you have to play the game that's being played now. And he's unwilling to do it.
He has not shown the ability to even replace his first coaching staff. Since they have left, he's not found. They haven't even won he's not been able to replicate it. They haven't even made the playoffs since his coaching staff left. 2 seasons now. So I mean, you can't do that. You're failing to adapt for the transfer portal. Like, you're Les Miles. You're acting like Les Miles right now. When Les Miles' coaching staff, when that coaching staff left and the recruiting, and he had to change his recruiting tactics, he won't even change his offense. He won't even change his offensive style. And, and so he got fired. Great coach, really good coach, really good coach. I think what's going on with LSU right now, I mean, if you take that away, I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. But at the end of the day, I mean, this is Les Miles all over again, guys. And like I said, in about 2 or 3 years, this guy might not be there in Clemson anymore.
Yeah, not
Look,
adapting.
If you want to know some traits of the difference in these guys, VTO camp, Atlanta, Georgia, 2 years ago, on the meet and greet day when it was almost over. Well, I guess it'd be the final goodbyes for everybody who lost. Kirby's out there in a truck playing Little Baby and got 50 kids around the truck. Dabo is talking about how he ain't gonna entertain kids who committed to him and transferred somewhere else and wouldn't even really talk to him. Didn't have Dabo pass right by you when nobody with him. This dude could have walked up to you. You could have walked up to him and talked to him. If you want to know the difference, Kirby has adjusted to today's environment, today's kid. He has a great grip on parents. He understands what these kids want to do, and George is willing to do whatever they do to do it. Dabo gets wrapped up in his own personal agenda and try to force that on the people. I know there's kids who've been recruited down there. And that turned a lot of parents off, man. He's always been that way, but for some reason he feels the need to reinforce it in his press conferences and things of that nature. And it just turned a lot of people off. And on top of that, he's got Quavo in his locker room down there for these kids. And a lot of kids like that. They like it. So they're going to go to Georgia. I mean, Kirby has his pulse on what kids give a damn about today. And I'm telling you this personally, what I know.
Yep. Fanatic is 100% right here. Go ahead, Jason.
No, I was gonna say, I mean, you can say, I think that Dabo's a great coach as far as coaching is concerned, but when you turn it off and you just decide that you're going to dig your heels in, you've basically said, and when you hear him say things like, the guys that the transfer portal aren't good enough to play here. You went 8-4. You just got off an 8-4 year. You hire Garrett Riley and won't change your offense. What are we talking about? So you have to look, and I think you're right about Kirby. I mean, Kirby has proven that he knows what he needs to do. He gets good coaches. We gotta see what happens with his newer hires. I mean, this is now he's getting into. I think this is the same for every big time coach. Though, what happens when your coaches start getting plucked?
Excellent.
Who do you replace them with? That's and I think that when it comes to, like Jess was saying a minute ago, we hadn't seen it yet from Dabo, but he's digging his heels in everywhere. We run the Clemson offense. Not Garrett Riley's offense took TCU to the national title game, bud, while you went 9-3, 8-4.
Yeah,
That's
and one thing,
and you keep blaming quarterbacks, but you got rid of one number one quarterback, coming out of high school. Now they're talking about Cade Klubnik's got to do his thing this year, or he's going to be, out of his job. What are we talking about? At what point does Dabo have to do something about it?
Well, and
after this year,
yeah,
that's a positive after this season.
$60 million they'll owe him after this year. He ain't going nowhere unless he decides to, probably.
Well, and I want to say this as well, because Mike Fort's 100% right. We do have to see, right? Like, and it's one thing that like constant staff turnover with Georgia. That's what I'm really interested in. But Mike Fort's right when he says, I never thought Bobo would be the next big thing. Now, granted, and Fanatic, I don't know if you ever saw it. I was high on the Bobo transition because I was like, one, he was
Bobo
under Monken
for wrong reasons, man.
And two, he wasn't bad when he was last there. Like their offense wasn't.
He's good. They're not great. They're not. I mean, that's Todd Monken's offense. They're running.
Yeah, that's a good offense though.
And Bobo was the assistant. I mean, like I said, it's like Ken Dorsey with it's like with Brian Dable with the offense he ran. Brian Dable and Joe Brady are running Dable's offense. They're just they're putting their own little their own little kind of thing into it. But no, I mean, Bobo is solid. He's not great.
Chicken with the $5 says, Ty, where's my running back? 6th time with love. You're not getting a running back, Chicken. Y'all have plenty of running backs over there. You got enough running backs over there in Norman, and you got a running back in the transfer portal that nobody ever talks about. I don't know why anybody doesn't ever talk about him, but Sam Franklin is a monster, okay? Sam Franklin is a name I implore everybody to remember because I think he's going to be a really fun player to watch if he gets the opportunity. Love that right there. Have some comments I wanted to hit before we go into the recruiting segment. And that was 2 of them that are very similar, right? We'll start it off with Trojan saying, here's a bold take. Dabo would have been a better hire for Alabama. Absolutely not. Bama just hired a coach that was 25-3 after inheriting a 4-8 program. Dabo doesn't change. Coach DeBoer, I think, was the best option for Alabama. Listen, you knew Kirby wasn't going to take the job. His alma mater is Georgia. He's got an unbelievable thing going there. So you go get the next best thing, right? In terms of coaches that you can get over there, Kalen DeBoer, right? Kalen DeBoer.
The guy they wanted. They went after him first. They didn't want to hire Dan Lanning, and they didn't want to hire Sark either. They went and got the guy they wanted.
Jason, where was the plane at whenever Nick Saban retired? Let everybody know, because we're Alabama guys.
Being tracked to Washington the same day.
They got who they
and at
want.
least Mike Norvell told the truth, unlike a lot of these coaches. Mike Norvell said they never offered me the job. They asked me, did I want to interview for it? They never offered it to Sark. They never offered it to Norvell. Would you be interested if we wanted to interview you for the job? Yes, no.
Yeah, I got them.
Good
for their agent, but that's all it was just to get them. And
facts.
Lanning played it. I mean, he acted like he got offered the job and was so loyal to the program that nobody's loyal to, Oregon. Get out of here with that.
It's like the pretty girl that you were acting like wanted to talk to you, but you were just like, no.
Facts. Good for you getting your raise. I don't have a problem with that, but don't tell me how loyal you are. You know.
Yeah. And then he put out that tweet and a little video. If you're not faithful in your coach staying, come to Oregon. Didn't you just get mad at Dion for doing the same thing?
Exactly.
Like, come on, man.
Clicks and views, man. That's clicks and views. We ain't playing for clicks and views,
I
man.
love it.
Slap to the Everglades.
You let them talk long enough, they reveal the truth.
Hypocrites are everywhere in college football.
Boy, you ain't lying about that.
But I'll give a huge shout out to Jimmy Sexton. Jimmy Sexton is Big Daddy Kane, bro.
Yo.
He got damn near every client. He got raises over $1 million.
Yeah.
Right. So,
That's
hey,
man
my
right
client
there.
is up for the Bama job. What y'all want to do? Right. Everybody get raises. So
you get a raise. You get a raise. You get a raise.
They all got the same. They all got the exact same. I mean, you might as well just. But I'll give it. Far be it for me to give any love to Sark or Texas, because horns down as always. But Sark admitted on Keyshawn Johnson's show that he didn't get offered. They never offered. Right. He admitted it, and I mean, you want in Norvell. It's Norvell and Lanning that want everybody to think that they were really the guys that
Norvell.
He finally told the truth.
Listen to the Florida State fans. Listen to the Florida State fans.
I think they would have burned down. I think they would have burned down the building if they hired Norvell.
Oh, bro, there's no way after what
he got done getting beat by 60 in the Orange Bowl, and you really believe that Alabama was beating down Norvell's door.
Only thing
and you got beat by 60 in the Orange Bowl. Make it make sense, folks. Make it make sense.
Trojan, go ahead, Brinsky.
My fault. Only thing that all these coaches need to do is just send 10% of their salary to Nick Saban and say Merry Christmas.
True. I want to say this right here. Fan Addict Sports, I 100% agree. The first time he was there, he was good. Bobo was. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't y'all average the most? Now, granted, you had a, quarterback play right there was pretty good. But didn't you average like the most points Georgia has averaged here recently under Bobo that first time? And then he had I was under the same thing. I loved Monken. I think you and I may have talked about that, Coach I thought Monken was such a good offensive coordinator. And I was like, well, even if he's not Monken, like you got a darn good guy, right, coming in. Trojan, here's what I would ask of you. Let me know why, right? Because you've put out a claim, but you've given no reason as to why. So you're gonna have to let me know the why there. Wanted to hit these right here because they're very similar, and then we're gonna go into recruiting. We had Sooner in Texas says, Ty, you are known for the philosophy. Two things can be true. So noodle me this. If Nick Saban is the GOAT, how can Bama not take a step back? Not knocking DeBoer, but how can Bama not take a step back? I think this is a completely fair question, right? I think whenever you have the GOAT, I don't think any Bama fan is saying DeBoer is going to match what Saban did, or DeBoer is going to win a national championship every other year. I don't think that's the contention, but I do think that Alabama is going to remain successful. Let me tell you why. This was a guy that everywhere he's gone, he's won. Everywhere. He inherited a Washington program Sooner in Texas that was 4-8. First year, he completely changed it. The second year, he was in a national championship. In 2 years, he was 25-3. He has national championships at the previous level he was at, which granted isn't Power 4. I grant you that. But I would also counter if you were thinking that the argument of, but it's not Power 4 with, it's not like he had the 85 Chicago Bears as he was playing NAIA level competition. He had an NAIA level team going up against NAIA level competition, and he was winning. He's won everywhere he's gone, right? Everywhere he's gone. He's 7-0 against Dan Lanning, Steve Sarkisian, and Lincoln Riley. And every one of those guys had just as good of a roster, right? So it's not like it was a major disparity in talent. I'm not claiming he's going to be Nick Saban. And I think right now, if Alabama fans are excited, you'll have to remember they just had the GOAT retire. So they're excited because it's been a range of emotion.
We're freaking number 2 in recruiting.
They're
And that's
number
what they
2 in
were saying he
recruiting.
couldn't do.
And Jason, how many crystal balls were inserted this weekend for 5-star players? Ty Haywood, Caleb Cunningham, Dijon Lee, and they're saying that Bama is at the top or near the top. The battle for Kalik Locke with Texas is going to be fantastic. That's going to be a really fun recruiting battle.
Yeah.
So you have all of this, right? And 2, the other thing I would say is right now it's way easier to make the playoffs than it was under Nick Saban because it's an expanded field. Now, granted, college football as a whole is more competitive right now than it was 5-6 years ago, right? Like you look at some teams that are really building something and look like they could make some really good impact, no doubt about it. So it's not that I think anybody thinks that Saban is going to just be replicated like that with Kalen DeBoer, but sooner they got a top 4 head coach in college football to come in and be on the heels of Saban. And think about it like this, Sooner. Right now, Alabama still has 15 5-stars on that roster. So everybody said, oh, all the talent left Alabama. That's not true. Pro Football Focus just put out the 2 most talented teams. Roster. It's Georgia and Alabama have the most talent on the team, followed by Ohio State. So I think Alabama made the right hire, right? I don't think there's any question about that. Gentlemen, anything to add in from anybody?
Yeah, I'd like to say this real quick. Listen, man, Alabama's culture is already in place, man. It's just like Georgia. It's a reason why kids really, really, really want to go to Georgia, and some want to go to Clemson. It's a culture thing, man. The culture of Alabama, the winning, the lank attitude, that is already embedded in them kids, man. So you take everything Ty just said, right? And you put it with a roster that's already better than most teams' roster, right? You get a capable-minded coach, a coach that understands football, a coach has been successful every way he's been, and you give him resources. What did Courtney Morgan say in his interview with those guys? He said, everything we did at Washington, you bring it here to Alabama, and it explodes because their resources are unreal compared to what we just came from. You're seeing what's happening, man, right? It's very simple. It's not about taking a step back, guys. It's about change. Nick Saban, whether you can read between the lines or not, told you guys this 3 years ago. Said college football is changing. This is not the college football that I signed up for. Now, we were still successful. Damn, they should have won a national championship if Jameson Williams don't get hurt, right? Here's the thing, man. College football is changing. Coach Saban is 28 years from being 100 years old, man. He's 28 years from being 100. It was time, right? So you take the resources, you take the roster, you take great coaches, young guys who understand that college football is changing, and you put them at the place like University of Alabama. Hence, number 2 recruiting class, even after the GOAT retires. It's not about taking a step back. It's can you pick up the reins and keep trying to do what he already was doing. That's what it's about.
You already still had a top talent roster. I mean, and this guy is literally, he's coached less than 120 games as a head coach. He's won all but, 12 of them?
The whole fact.
What are we talking about? And you really mean to tell me, Trojan? I keep saying.
Hold on, and if I can, Jason, because this is facetious. Can Boise get the same level recruits as USC? You're equating a non-blue blood institution to an institution that invests in their football program that has so much history. This is why people get up in arms about Lincoln. You're at a blue blood. You have a step up at the conversation for everybody.
Yeah, it's excuse after excuse from these USC fans. Just want to sit here and bash everybody that isn't SC and make excuses for everything that Lincoln Riley is doing to make them soft. What are we talking about?
The nerd in me is so happy right now. And I'm sorry, this is so cool. Because in the comments, Fanatic and I, or the Fanatic Sport, we've been talking about Bobo and Munkin, and I didn't realize it was that close. Like that, the nerd in me thinks that's so cool. Jason, continue.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't understand what we're talking about.
Wondering, is there a difference in the brand capability between Alabama and Washington? Like, what are What are we doing here?
Really talking about a freaking blue blood that you can't even lock down California, even LA. You're not even locking down LA.
He's not going after LA. That's the crazy part. He's not going after these schools.
But
he is not going after them.
Let me ask you this, though. I want to ask this question. You're going to tell me that you now still believe that they made the right hire 2 years, now almost 3 years ago?
No. It's backfired.
Over Kalen DeBoer?
Oh, it's backfired completely. They have. Excuse my language. They shit the bed. They have
trash
the bed with Lincoln Riley as their coach. And now you have to. Now it's trust the process. Like Joel Embiid used to say, trust the Armageddon. Trust the process. Ain't no trust the process.
Lincoln doesn't even know what the process is.
There is no process. Exactly, Jason. There's no process. So, like I remind you guys, 5 players for this year's class. I think either 5 or 6 players for St. John Bosco in modern day. The 2 best high schools in the state of California with over 40 plus D1 offers combined, and you offered both those for this year. 6. How the hell are you offering 6 when they're 30 minutes away from your campus? You're right there. You got J. Sarah Catholic. You got Northern California schools. They don't want to rock with you. The Southern California schools definitely don't want to rock with you. Because again, that's just the rumor that was kind of going on.
You can throw a rock from USC and hit St. John Bosco.
He has crushed the relationship with some of the California coaches. And I don't know what the issue is, but something's going on that we don't know about, guys. There's something going on. And if you can't get me a great recruiting class, if you can't get me a good recruiting class, what are we doing here? You're not producing on the field. You're not producing off the field. What are we doing? And the fact that USC fans fail to accept this is why you guys will be in purgatory.
Nobody told you. Nobody told you.
Facts. What did you say earlier, Coach Sean? I think it was a stream that we did a week or so ago when we were talking about these kids that had decommitted. And what did you say? When Kirby decides that he puts a freaking big old wall around the state of Georgia. And so does everybody who wins. I mean, whatever the state is, if it's your state, you better not. Lincoln Riley didn't win the state of Oklahoma when he was recruiting there.
Last year, USC had 2 of the top 20 players in their state in that class. 2 of the top 20.
How many of them are at Oregon?
A lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at least double digits, and I'm going to say it's probably Oregon owns that. You can't even win the city that you're in, much less the state. I don't want to hear this. Oh, we're going to use the portal. That's going to work.
And one of the things Trojan said is he said there are rumors, and this is a rumor that I've heard, and I'm here to dispel it. Not only me, Andrew Bone dispelled it earlier. If you want to know who Andrew Bone is, Bama Online. I think that's the best recruiting Bama coverage out there. Bama Online, shout out to them. Andrew Bone tweeted this. He said, these rumors that Nick Saban's the one recruiting in the background. Nick Saban's not on campus. Nick Saban, the last time he was there was at A-Day for 5 minutes. He took some pictures with 5 minutes with the recruits.
Let me get in on this because I have to explain something to everybody who sits there and thinks like that an old coach is recruiting a school for guys to go play. Everybody take a minute, right?
Think about how dumb that is.
Okay, like I did play. I was recruited. Let me tell you something. You don't go on a recruiting trip for a guy who used to coach.
The whole fact.
Why the hell would I want to play for a guy who used to coach, who doesn't coach there now? He's not there every day. He's not the guy I go to meetings with. He's not the guy who even speaks to me in the player room, in the team room before we go off to offense and defensive meetings or special teams meetings from there into personnel meetings. I'm going to tell you right now.
Inconsequentially stupid.
The fact that anybody brings that up is the stupidest excuse I have ever heard as far as when it comes to
recruiting for him.
It doesn't matter, man. Like in the end of the day, yeah. Hey, just come here and play because I'll look at you from the office upstairs. Like what? Like, are you serious?
I had
I'm gonna watch you from upstairs. I'll use a megaphone to yell down at you while if you f up in practice, and then in the meantime during the week I'm gonna take some vacations. You guys are all good. Everyone's gonna run everything else. What? That is like it's so far outside of the box. Like it's one thing to say little things here and there, but to sit there and be like, an old coach is recruiting players to come play for a program that he doesn't coach at anymore. Okay, he's involved. He's involved. He's there. Great. You get to meet him once in a while. He gets to share some philosophies from all the experience he has. That's awesome. That's at every freaking program.
Man,
every single program.
That's why it was so funny when y'all just brought this up, because I have some partners that have an Auburn channel, and they were saying the exact same thing because they had the top 5 recruiters, and Kellen DeBoer was not even in their top 5. They say, I believe Nick Saban is recruiting these guys. I'm like, come on, bro. It doesn't even make any sense.
Who cares what? Here's the other thing. Who gives a shit?
That too.
Well, the facts are it's just not real.
I don't care.
If you haven't played college football or like understand the background
at all, what I'm telling you is,
real.
What does it matter?
That's like me going to Washington, then saying Don James is recruiting me to go to Washington.
I know, right?
I get it, man.
Like
yeah,
what?
I get it. It's like at what point do you stop making excuses for your program being underperforming and start finding a way to get it done? If you're USC and you're going to the Big Ten and you're making $100 million a year, and you really want us to believe that they're not playing the NIL game, because you know what, Ty, you said that the other day, and I had to think about it for a little while, and I took the entire day and I thought, you know what, he's not wrong. They're not playing the NIL deal. They know that you're not going to win.
Well,
that was exactly my point, right? They're playing it, but why would you go there when Georgia can play it as well and Georgia's winning, or Ohio State is playing it and they're winning, right? Like, Jason, I'm so sorry. Continue.
No, I was just saying that's the bottom line. It's the exact same thing. We've been saying this in it's last week. You had 2 5-stars go. Julian Lewis on his way out. He's going to Auburn over USC.
Dude, well, hold on. I see Trojan Fights next comment. He goes, Pete Carroll's just influencing a visit for USC, and he's been gone long. Mic drop. Here's a mic drop. Pete Carroll is also at University of Washington.
Truth.
He was just there. So was Bill Belichick. This happens at every program. They're not there recruiting to play for them. They're just talking
and young
about
kids don't give a damn about Pete Carroll.
Well, they don't give
talking about.
They don't even remember Pete Carroll even coaching at USC.
These kids weren't alive when he was at USC. None of them.
Listen, mentally, Coach Saban is still putting belt to all your asses, and we can move on. Period. Now,
let's
comment that. Go comment that.
Let's talk about
putting belt to ass. Go ahead.
Let's talk about some recruiting, right? Because this is where we're being steered. And Trojan said mic drop after I had just directly told you, like, you don't even have to take it from me. Andrew Bone confirmed Saban's not present right now. Saban is in an analyst position, not for football, for like advisory stuff. But I think even a lot of that isn't going to be what people thought it might be, because he just signed that major contract with ESPN. Saban is going to do whatever Saban wants, right? And we're telling you right now, that's not how this is going. Now, I did see Anthony, you were asking, I can't find the comments because everything is going so fast. Yeah. Is Mario to Lincoln when it comes to recruiting, saying more? Yeah, I mean, it is Mario can recruit, but Mario's just got to win, Anthony, right? Like, I think Mario has a bit more pressure on him than people think. And you were asking about if there's any recruiters on Bama's staff that are a liability. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that right now there are recruiters that are finding their way, but I couldn't say anybody's a liability. Jason, OU had a great weekend. I want to start with Coach Sean and you. And the reason why, I know we're talking OU recruiting first. The reason why I do want to start with Coach Sean is because for the 277 people in here, be sure to go to subscribe to Coach SPH, the Sharpshooters podcast, Hall of Fame college football, Jant Sports, to Jake, let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, I know it's so new. It just happened, right? But no, it's if you just search at coach_Jmayer, my channel will pop up, and that's Set the Tone, Alabama and college football
Put
talk.
it in chat.
Set the tone,
Hey,
Alabama
you
and
know, I
college
tried.
football.
The chat's not working for me, man. It's
Hey,
canceling all my chats.
I saw it in there. You're just gonna have to send it in there again. It was just a long time ago, and I can't scroll up and find it.
Oh, you
Also, go subscribe to Coach Smoot. Go subscribe to the Fan Addict Sports Network. But the reason why, after I gave that long shout out to everybody in here, the reason why we're going to start with Coach Sean, even though this is an OU recruiting subject, Coach Sean told you all on Friday morning, watch out for Emmanuel Choice. Kid is very talented. Coach Sean, you spoke word to power. He committed this weekend to Oklahoma. Talk to us about Emmanuel Choice. Talk to us about Jaden O'Neal. Talk to us about what you're thinking about Oklahoma recruiting as they're coming out of their premier event.
Man, listen. Emmanuel Choice is a kid that I watched this film, and I really, really, really enjoy this kid, man. I talked about him. I saw, I saw great talent on this kid. I saw a kid that come in and out of his breaks very, very, very fluently. And I used the dig route as a route that I explain a lot. And I watched this kid run a dig route on his film. I wanted to find a deep dig. And what I mean by that is a lot of receivers, and I mean a lot of them, some of your most talented guys, when they run a dig route and they cut that and they cut in, Jake, they don't look for Jake. They don't look for the safety. They just let the quarterback throw them open. The great receivers like Devontae Smith knew how to attack the dig route. Is the safety behind you? Is he on the side of you? Where is the safety located, right? Where is this guy? That way you'll know to attack the top of the route. That way the quarterback don't have to throw you open. And this is one of the kids that do that. This kid attacks his routes, and that's what separates good receivers from great receivers. I talked about this kid. If they got this kid, I knew it was going to be outstanding for them. The kid is like 6'3", 6'4", if I'm not mistaken. Real tall kid, very fluent, man, not stiff-hipped at all. Big hands, really, really, really attacks the ball. He attacked the ball. He don't wait for the ball to come down. He really attacks the ball at his highest point. I'm really excited about that kid, man. I think Oklahoma, he's a steal. I know he's only rated a 3-star, right? This kid, to me, will be one of you guys' better receivers. I like him more than some of the receivers that's ranked ahead of him. It's another kid you guys have who receives. He's a smaller kid. I think his last name was Harris, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's the kid that came from Modern Day.
Well, there's Marcus and then Grayson Harris.
Oh, Grayson
This kid
Harris
was only like 5'10", 5'11", if I'm not mistaken, right? Speedster, absolute burner, right? Now, he's not as aggressive in no shape, form, or fashion as Emmanuel, but if you're looking for a kid to put in the slot, line him up against your third corner or your safety, he will kill you. And Oklahoma's going to absolutely use this kid at their advantage. I can tell that Venerables is recruiting for prowess. What I mean by that is he's not just going to get a bunch of highly ranked kids and sticking them wherever. He's recruiting slot receivers. He's recruiting X receivers. He's recruiting kids that played certain positions. I'm sure they'll learn all the positions of Oklahoma, but I like that because that's what Coach Saban did, right? I think that's going to help him in the SEC. I think they got a younger cornerback named Malik Hawkins. I watched this kid. Great backpedal, man. This kid comes out of phase very, very, very well. I watched this kid only camp at one camp. I don't know if he went more than that. I can only find one he attended, and that's what I want people to understand. A lot of these kids that you see ranked 3 stars didn't camp a lot, right? This Malik Hawkins kid can flat out play, man. Mm-hmm. I read he was 6 foot, if I'm not mistaken. 6'1", 6 foot
in the league. His brother is going to be the quarterback. Also,
his kid can play.
They're saying a lot of people are saying that he's actually more talented than Michael Hawkins, who we are very high on at Oklahoma to be the next quarterback, and should be. This is.
I'll say this:
it's an embarrassment of riches for Oklahoma right now. It really is.
You say I said it. You can put my name on it. You guys have another cornerback named Tristan Haynes. I think it is Kristen Haynes. Watch this film. He's a taller corner, 6'1", 6'2", if I remember. Listen, I like the other kids backpedaling coming out of phase better than I like the 6'2" kids, right? The 6'2" kid flail his arms when he's coming out of phase. And Jake, you know, when you backpedal and you're off balance, that's hard to teach a kid. That's hard to teach, man, right? This other kid, fluid, fluid, in and out of phase, very, very fluid. W drill, on the W drill, kid's feet is like butter. I'm telling you, man. And he's not rated as high as the Haynes kid. So I'm really, really excited what Oklahoma done, man. These guys have got great kids. The Harris kid, the wide receiver, butter, right? Emmanuel Choice, wide receiver, absolute monster. And Malik Hawkins, watch. These kids are lower rated, but I like their talent just as much as some of your highly rated kids.
Emmett Jones he should have a raise yesterday. And this is something that all the Oklahoma creators have been talking about ad nauseum lately. This guy has put together probably the strongest. I mean, look, if you look at it right now, they're up there behind maybe Ohio State in their entire room, right? You've got some, and I'm not saying there's not a bunch of these programs that have this, but Emmett Jones, if there's a guy that's out recruiting him, it's really only the guy at Ohio State. That's it. They've got guys, a lot of dudes that are in that 6'4", 6'5" range that have some speed, but they're athletic. You look at Nick Six. He was a 3-star guy when they got him. Of course, he was recruited by the last guys, but this is a guy that you see a lot of similarities when you look at Emmanuel Choice. But what we've seen is, you talked a little bit earlier about samples. It's kind of the same deal with Emmett Jones. He was the coach. I think he was the coach at Skyline, where our coach was the coach at for a good time. He has it locked down. Texas Tech was unbelievably unhappy when they lost him. He's been amazing getting guys to, look, everybody wanted Deion Burks. Everybody wanted Deion Burks in the portal. He got him. It didn't take him but a couple of days, and he was locked in. And Deion Burks is that speed guy that's probably going to go from. He was with Purdue and Hudson Card last year, and at 700, he's probably gonna double up. But the thing is what are you going to do with this offense? With this receiving core, when you've got a guy like Nick on one side, and then you've got him in the slot, and then you still got Jalil Farouk, and all these guys coming up behind him. Jaden Gibson is another 6'6" monster that nobody really talks about. Double one guy, you get killed by somebody else. It really they've done a fantastic job when it comes to that. Emmanuel Choice, I saw people talking, kind of trying to trash him, and we know who they were.
That's how you know they haven't watched.
Well, no, they were doing it because, and let's not forget that, believe me, Sark offered the guy. He's not going to Texas, but he's trashed because he's, a 3-star and going to Oklahoma.
May I give you the list of teams that offered real fast?
Yes. And this is the only thing that matters is that.
Clemson, Texas, US, and this isn't the full list. This is just the major programs. Clemson, Texas, USC, Utah, UCLA, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Tennessee, TCU, SMU, Purdue, Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Florida, Cal, Baylor, and Arkansas. Not the complete list, just the ones. Yeah,
His film don't lie. His film don't lie. If you know what you're watching, the kid's film don't lie, man.
And I trust you. You're an offensive coach. This is what you do.
He'll be a 4-star. There's no question.
What Shotty always says is, Coach, Shotty always talk about, man, all you got to do is see how many of those little white lines they take out at one time. How quick are they at gobbling up the white lines?
That's a fact.
So, Jason, you got the win for Choice. Then you get O'Neal, right? Who O'Neal in the 26 class, fantastic addition. I love when you get a quarterback recruit early because they help so much. What else can we expect from Oklahoma in terms of recruiting coming out of Champ U Barbecue?
Well, you saw Babalola was there. It's been a pretty good weekend, and to me, look, where they're headed with all of this and the way that they're recruiting. Again, we've talked a lot about this. We everybody knows you're going to play with the NIL stuff. They're working on that as well. But the first thing you better be doing is definitely locking down the guys in your state. You have to definitely lock down the guy, and they're building relationships. We're not getting into money talk until you know you want them there. One of the other things, and I think this is completely underrated about what Oklahoma's done and not talked about enough. There was a lot of questions that first year when they were recruiting, and Venables will tell you, no, do not commit and then start taking more visits other places. A lot of people thought that was risky. And in fact, I would have to admit that I thought it was kind of risky because you want them to commit whenever you want them to commit, or this is the way a lot of people play. This is not the way that Brent Venables plays. You might be a silent commit. He doesn't want you announcing anything. And in fact, he would rather you go and take all your visits before you commit. He did it with David Stone this past cycle, right? That he was making a lot of those guys not commit for the longest time. It's worked out. You've lost a guy here and there, you know, in the end, he's stuck to that, and they are building that relationship, telling them, you know what, listen, I want you to go enjoy and take all your visits. Then you make your decision. I don't want, you know, and look, again, as I said, it was one of those things that you look and you're like, that's kind of a ballsy thing, you know? You want to try to lock them down, but he knows that he says if we're going to take a scholarship off the table whenever we offer you this, we're not going to offer another guy here. So we want you to do the same with us. So look, I think he's done a great job with I mean, look, if you look at the roster, Lincoln Riley to now, that's the other thing. Lincoln did no better in offensive recruiting, and he's had Heisman Trophy winners, first round picks. In fact, 3 of them. He beat him for Taylor Tatum last year. This last cycle. Number 1 running back in the country. They continue to get these studs on offense. They look like they're going to be in good shape for these 5-star guys. They're probably going to get one of them. If you look at Ryan Foji, a lot of people will tell you that he's going to be a 5-star. He was a 400 ranked guy, and now he's in the top 100 once he got identified by Bill Beaton, which is why you can't just look at stars, because they don't. PJ Adebawari was in a 3-star that shot up to top 5 overall in the country after Miguel Chavis identified him. I mean, they're doing the right thing, and the rankings are going to be what they are. I think you really have to go back and look at rankings 4 years down the line when you see what they really became, some of those guys. I would tell you that I believe that Devon Mitchell from last year, if he's a 26 guy, if he stays in the 25 class, he's a top 10 overall prospect. He goes into the 24. He's still top 100 in some of them, but drops out of it in the composite. You don't get credit for that being a 5-star, but he was a 5-star, right? That's the whole point. Your rankings, they're going to mean what they mean. But when you read off a list of guys like for this, Emmanuel Choice is unbelievable, you know? Then you go and you get Jaden O'Neal, who he's next level throwing the football. Big, strong, spins it. It's an embarrassment of riches, and they're doing it the right way. I couldn't be more excited about what they do there.
A lot of these kids don't camp like they used to, man. A lot of kids don't. You know, some of these kids will come to your university and will not camp. So, you know, it's just a different day and time, man. You know.
Well, that's like where all the scholarships used to come from back in the day. You know, it's like it was camps. Like, I mean, now we have so much exposure to like social media that we can evaluate kids a lot on like just their game film, because in the end of the day, like obviously you want to see a kid in person, you want to there's an eye test. Everyone talks about passing the eye test, right? But then on top of that, like you still though have to watch the kids film, not just highlight tapes. I tell guys that all the time. I'm like, what are you putting on? What are you putting on your highlight tape? Because that's great that you're making plays, but what's your form look like? Are you doing the correct thing, right? Like, what's the play call at that moment in time? What's your coverage assignment? Okay, what did you identify? I want to see those things, because those tell me what, you know, things maybe you're where you have opportunities to grow and where you're really good, right? And how big is that gap? Because if that gap's huge, now I'm going to could I take someone who has a smaller gap as far as growth opportunities and where you're really good at, and how can I translate that? That's why I think with this recruiting, it's what's really interesting is how good of a coaching staff do you have at identifying talent and identifying potential. Like what's the ceiling for each one of these kids? And you really got to do your homework in when you evaluate each one of the kids. I mean, when it comes down to it, do they fit your system? What's their character? Who are they as a person? What do they come from? Right? What are there any indicators that you can see that could lead down the road to being something not quite you expected? Right? Like what are all these aspects that you can evaluate to make sure that you're getting the right type of player into your class, regardless of stars? I think it's a funny one I point out is which a lot of people give a hard time to with Alabama is London Simmons. I don't think a lot of people realize with London Simmons, that dude is extremely smart, extremely humble, team oriented, ready to just work and be the best he can be. I mean, the guy took second in a state competition for chess. Some of the coaches in his high school talk about his ability to watch film, and he can pick out things better than other guys. Some of the coaches can. Like that he's just a very smart kid. So how does he fit into your system and allow you, regardless of his stars, allow you to grow, and how fast can he make an impact? Right? A kid like that, he's probably going to make an impact actually pretty fast because his football IQ is there, right? And if he has the grind in the weight room, then that's another addition, which he does. So there's an example of a guy who might be a 3-star, but truthfully, in the end, he almost might be priceless in a weird way because of how smart he is. It's just something to think about,
100%. Want to give a shout out to KillTac9 with the $20 saying, I don't know what I'm watching on film, but I watch Coach SPH, so my water cooler talk is superb. That's what we're talking about right there. That's what we're talking about. That's why we get
Let me
this
tell
panel
them this,
together.
Ty, before you transition, if you don't mind, really quickly.
Go ahead.
Devontae Smith was a 3-star from a little small town called Amite, Louisiana, until he went to one camp in Miami called the 305 Paradise Camp in 2016. Him and Jerry Judy was at the same camp, right? Devontae showed his what. So when he shows up at the Rivals camp, they give him an extra star, right? Mm-hmm. So nobody was on this kid. He'll tell you that himself. You can look it up on YouTube. Don't be fooled by some of these stars, man. 5 stars are great. Don't get me wrong. But please believe there's some 3-star kids out there that a lot of people don't know about a lot that can play just as well as some of these kids that you think are 5 stars. Please believe that.
It's just the money. It's just the money. They can't afford to go to all these places.
Yep.
And some of these 5 stars, like they're no brainers, like a Jeremiah Smith, Julio Jones, or AJ Green. Those types of players. Different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention, let's be honest, parents are stubborn, man. Like you know what I'm saying? Like you get an invitation, like a coach may come to a parent and say, like, hey, this camp invited your son out to kind of play. Okay, well, that's fine. Where's the camp located? It's located, let's just say he's from New York. But the camp is located in Florida. Hell no. These parents are like, hell no, I'm not sending my kid out there to Florida, especially when I got to pay for it. I mean, are you paying for it? Like, what's going on here? And so, there are parents that, of course, that they will pay the money to do it. But there's parents out there that they have the money, but they still won't do it just because, for the most part, they don't trust that in particular environment. Like, a lot of kids, let's be honest, a lot of kids, thousands of kids don't even know about camp settings. Nowadays, yes, I think it's starting to kind of grow on them. But let's be honest here, guys. Like the camp setting, and this is what I think. I think camp settings are overrated. I think they're overrated as hell. Because the best kids sometimes don't even really go out. Sometimes they'll stay kind of indoors. They're thinking about their training. Some kids, hell, they don't even have trainers. They train themselves. They have to do it all kind of themselves. And yet that kid is so damn talented that he's not really getting the offer. The only way that they can get their offer is by sending in a Huddy tape. Emailing coaches, sending in a Huddy tape. Josh Allen was a perfect example of that. Didn't go to any camps. All he did was send his film out to every coach he possibly can get his hands on. Every coach denied him, but a JUCO offer. He went to that JUCO school for 2 years, put in his offer, sent it to, emailed every coach with his film at the JUCO level, tearing it up. One school offered him. That was Wyoming. Josh Allen ended up becoming a top 10 pick. All because of that. The talent was there. He didn't go into any camp settings and stuff like that. His parents wouldn't send him. They were farmers. They were really rich farmers, but they didn't send him out to any camp settings. They didn't even know about it. So like we got like these again, camps are a great indicator about what kids are today, but it's not. It shouldn't be the indicator. But it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like a tour. Justin Jefferson was a 2-star. Look what he became. There's so many kids, man, that are no star ranked kids, 1-star, 2-star, 3-star kids with limited opportunities compared to the average 4 to 5-star player that goes to a crap ton of camp settings. That goes to a crap ton of them. So
that's true. Stars are not the end all. Go ahead, Coach.
Oh, I'm sorry. I prefer the straight up 7-on-7 competitions because these highly rated camps, a lot of these kids, it's just like Coach Jay just said, a lot of these kids don't even attend, right? But if you can catch you a good 7-on-7 tournament where you got a top receiver going against a top DB and let them work against each other, the coaches will put them against each other on purpose, right? You know what I mean? I know that personally just from my own experiences. And shout out to Quez Watkins and Chadarius Townsend, A2 Eagles. Coach Sean loves you even to this day. Right? 7-on-7 will really tell you who's competitive, who dropped their head when they had a bad game. You'll see these kids get locked up by a great DB. They'll pout. You'll tell them, oh, yeah, he's soft. Yeah, he's a 5-star, but he's good and tender. He's good and tender. It will show you. 7-on-7, you can't hide, right? The camp setting, these big camp settings, is glitz and glamour. Is they don't really pay attention to the lower rated kids. It's all glitz and glamour. The 7-on-7 tournament, one team against another, you can really tell who's competitive and who about their business. Facts.
100%. And the stars, listen, stars are great. They're not the end all be all. This is what I've always said, right? This is why we miss him dearly today. But Chris Williams is always in here. He's the resident Auburn fan. He tried to shade last weekend Alabama because they had gotten a win for Simmons, who's a 3-star, saying that Auburn doesn't take 3 stars at all. Meanwhile, a third of their recruiting class is 3 stars. But my retort to him was this: that's fine. I don't care if if your coaching staff knows what they're looking for. I don't care if you got a 3-star. Celebrate it. Why? Because evaluation is the king, right? Like if you know what your because when they're doing stars, it's almost like a blanket statement. It's not taking account into scheme. It's not taking account into coaching fit, culture fit, nothing like that. So that's where it's up to your coaching staff to look at what they need, look at the boards and say, this is what's best for us. If you're just recruiting off of the site, that's not going to get it done. You have to recruit to the culture, to the scheme, and recruit what's best for you, right? So stars are great. They're great, but they're not the end-all, be-all. And Big Bama Brand with the $10 saying, if they ain't wearing crimson, F them. And Bama Brand, what better time for us to hit this right here than by transitioning to Alabama, ladies and gentlemen. They say it's a cold summer. I say it's on fire, right? There is something going on right now, and this is what I mean when I say hype is a very powerful thing. Hype is something that a lot of people are like, oh, it's just all hype right now. What can you do with that hype? If you can transition that and mobilize it, hype can be an incredibly powerful thing. Ladies and gentlemen, as we talk right now, Alabama got another big-time commitment this weekend in Micah DeBose, one of the top offensive linemen in the nation. But it's not just that. They have received crystal ball predictions for 5-star tackle Ty Haywood, for 5-star defensive back Dejon Lee, and for 5-star wide receiver Caleb Cunningham, while Steve Wiltfong has stated that he believes Bama is at or near the top for both a Derek Meadows and a Khalil Lockett. Now, I've said this before. I think Lockett's going to be hard to lift out of Texas, but this Bama coaching staff is doing an incredible job. I want to start with Jance, and we will go and end with Coach Sean on this one. Jance, talk to me about Alabama recruiting right now. Should people be surprised?
Well, we're not surprised. Of course, everybody else is surprised. But no. I mean, no, nobody should be surprised about Alabama. Like I said, I mean, Bama fans in the chat, some of the guys on the panel, they'll tell you. I mean, I kept saying it for the longest time. Ty, you can attest to this. What did I keep saying? Just be patient. Take your time. Everything is going to resolve itself out. I said this after when Nick Saban left. I wasn't worried one bit that Alabama was going to fall off from recruiting. I knew that this team was eventually going to go back on top, and like we do this every year, even with Saban here. We do this every single year. Courtney Morgan, when he first got hired, you can go back to one of the tweets. One of the first things he tweeted was literally that ice cold emoji. He knew. I mean, he was confident in his ability. Kalen DeBoer was confident in this particular recruiting staff for them to put in the work. And listen, I mean, all the credit in the world has to be given to this entire staff, right? This is not Nick Saban as a general manager anymore, right? This is a full team effort for everybody, and it is what it is. I'm just happy. I'm happy for the most part that we're just getting back on track. I think I'm just most happy that we're just shutting up the naysayers. That's been talking all the crap, and even the naysayers that continue to just make excuses about, well, Nick Saban's the one that's doing all the hiring, and that we're now paying players millions of dollars for them to come here. It's just the same excuses all over. You can never win. You just can't win against these guys. The only time you can shut these people up is on the field. It is what it is about these naysayers. But no, I mean, like I said, we talked about this last week in terms of visitation. We knew it was going to be a big weekend. Justin Smith, he tweeted out that, like, hey, this could be one of the biggest weekends in Alabama history. And after when it was all over, he said, dude, this might have been one of the greatest recruiting weekends ever. And so when you take a look at guys like Dijon Lee, Meadows, you look at Justice Terry, I mean, you look at Caleb Cunningham, Micah Du Bois made his commitment literally on his official visit. Ty, all those dudes, everybody was impressed. And now it's to a point now where we got a lot of guys favored. We didn't win out everybody. I think Justice Terry's going to make his commitment to Georgia pretty soon, right? And I don't think we won over everybody, but we did impress. We did impress everybody that was there. You talk to every commitment about Alabama so far; they all have said that, man, this was a hell of a time. It was a tremendous atmosphere, and that's the best thing. That's honestly the best thing that you possibly can do, right? Is you want to make the kids feel at home. You want to make them make them feel comfortable. But you just want. But I think the most important part is you gotta have a long lasting impression with the kids. And I think that's something that they've accomplished, is that they had a long lasting impression, including a kid that committed right there. That's impressive, especially when Ryan Williams was there. He was a former 5-star kid that was right. I mean, he should be in this class right now, but he was there. He was the first one to actually kind of greet. Du Bois was the first one to greet him as soon as he made that commitment. So I'm not surprised by this at all. Alabama's going to continue to heat things up. We're going to continue to finish inside the top 3 in recruiting. And like I said, we have not fallen off the wagon. Now, there are certain schools out there like Ole Miss that has fallen off the wagons, and USC that has fallen off the wagon, of course. But it is what it is. I think that our staff has just done a tremendous job. And yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised at all for what I've seen. I'm more surprised that, of course, I'm more surprised that the fans thought that this was not going to happen. I'm surprised of that, if anything. But no, we did everything that we said we were going to do. All my predictions have come true. I said Judgment Day was coming by the time the transfer portal was coming. I said Judgment Day was coming. Judgment Day is officially around. It's officially here now. We can play the Game of Thrones music or the House of Dragons music now. And
do I need to go get Grandalf?
Yes, please, if you can.
Oh, there goes the camera freezing.
Dang.
Stupid.
Dang. All right, who's up next?
I didn't mean to cut you off, Chance. Go ahead.
That was it, man. You just played. What do they say? Winter is here. Winter
is coming.
Winter is here.
Yeah, but yeah, man. I've been saying, man, a tide is coming.
Mm-hmm.
A tide is coming, man. I am loving every bit of this, and it was just so beautiful to see like all the national analysts start throwing in crystal balls for us when everybody thought it was a downfall coming, especially these Auburn fans, the ones want to go on Toomer's Corner and roll up toilet paper just because a man retired. That lets you know, in the words of Coach Sean, belt to ass. You know where the standard is. The standard is the standard. And now you seeing, oh, he's just whatever I forgot what they call Brian Harsin.
Husky Harsin is what they called him.
Yeah. And they thought he wasn't going to come down here and recruit. And now he's on the verge of having the number one class. If he has that in his first year, that's saying a whole lot about him. And guys going to keep paying attention to that. Like, what is going on in Tuscaloosa? It's working to their advantage. And don't let them have a great season. All they got to do is really just get like 10 wins and just, especially if you can make Jalen Milroe look totally different. Oh my God, man. The sky's the limit. The sky is the limit. I can't wait. Hopefully we can get a couple more flips because I want him to stay in state so bad with him and Dejon Lee. Both of them boys. Oh my God. We talking about no fly zone for real. And I would love that. But it's a long way to December. But I am loving every bit of this. It's a cold summer. So make sure you bundle up.
I think, and I'm going to go ahead and give my way too early predictions for your top recruiting classes. I think your top 3 recruiting classes, in no particular order, I think you're looking at Ohio State, Georgia, and Alabama. I think that those 3 classes are going to be tough classes, right? I do. Ohio State's doing an incredible thing. Yeah, right. Like status quo. Georgia with Kirby is Georgia. Trojan, that's facetious. First 4-loss season, DeBoer's on the hot seat. I mean, is Lincoln on the hot seat because he just lost how many games?
Lincoln get 4 losses, he's fired. How about that?
Well, I mean, he just lost more than that, Brinsky.
But if he get that, he's gone.
But apparently it's all gravy.
Yeah.
At USC. But anywhere else.
He's yet to say a single thing against Lincoln Riley. If they go 7-5, 8-4 this year, whose fault's it going to be? Jen Cohen's? She just got there.
Well, I mean, listen, Trojan, you had a up close and personal look. He handled Lincoln. Not at a blue blood either.
Yeah. So ask him. Who would you rather have right now, Kalen DeBoer or Lincoln Riley? I know who I'd rather have.
Hayden outside of the club and can't even get in.
Can't even get in.
Jake, talk to me. Alabama recruiting.
Yeah, man. Talk about some serious momentum. I think Alabama's doing a great job. I think obviously from a coaching standpoint, you see how strong each one of the coaches are at recruiting their individual positions. We see like the relationships being built that are very real, sincere, they're genuine. The players feel it, their families feel it. They like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you're not going to get every single person, right? But from the way this momentum is rolling, it feels like you could get every single person. Let's be honest. It will be interesting to see kind of the breakdown as far as I know the commitments. Derek Meadows moved his commitment date up. Josiah Sharma, defensive lineman, he's coming up with his commitment date, I think shortly or soon. Dejon Lee is this next week. I imagine we hear something from Caleb Cunningham soon. Ty Haywood. I mean, there's a number of guys who could keep going on and on. And yeah, we're not out. I do not think we're out of the battle with Justice Terry. I'm going to be honest with you guys. It'll just be interesting how that plays because I know there's a lot of other stuff involved. And of course, Lockett and he's going to be an interesting one. I think there's a favor towards Alabama personally. I do. And I think that's the connection with Key Russ. You know what I'm saying? I really think that recruiting is hard. That's where I go to next is these players, the guys currently in this class. You give a shout out to like Luke Metz. You give a shout out to Duke Johnson, right? You give a shout out to, Key Russ. Honestly, all the guys are doing a really good job. Mike Carroll's doing a good job. Jackson Lloyd's throwing stuff out there. Jaden Harmon's doing a good job. All these guys who are active on social media are doing a great job of giving that support to these guys on the visits and saying, hey man, we want you a part of this. I think what's interesting with this is you look at the guys on campus right now, there's something to be said when the players currently are saying, we want you to be here. We want you to be a part of this. You watch the video of Micah DeBose, his commitment. What does Ryan Williams do? He jumps on and gives him a big hug. I'm going to be honest with you. That makes you feel like you're at home. That makes you feel like you are part of the family. There's a lot of people who say family and they are not, that's not how you're treated. You get on there and you got to almost earn your way into the family. I get it. You got to earn your way onto the field. You got to go compete. But when you're outside of the field, outside of competition, how close is your brotherhood? Like legitimately, like how close is it? And that's where I say the brotherhood here at Bama, this bond within this team is very, very strong. And you're seeing it. I mean, the players are getting excited when guys commit. I mean, doesn't matter what stars they are. Everyone's getting excited. Like the point is it's a true like home feeling. And families can feel, moms especially, they can feel comfortable, right, with their kids going off here and know that they are going to be taken care of and looked after, not only by the coaching staff, but also the other guys on the team. And that's a big deal. That's hard to come by because, as we know, in football, especially at a level of Division I, there are egos. Even within a team, there are egos. Egos are the downfall. They are the cancer. They are what destroy your team. You will not win a national championship or championships in a row unless egos are gone. Saban did a good job of punching egos in the face. Okay. DeBoer does a good job of taking those egos and basically smoothing them out. It's all rigid. He just is smoothing them out. And he's saying, follow me. I'll lead you to the promised land. And it's true, just so we got to just look at his record and what he's going to do, right? The foundation was set at Alabama already under Saban. DeBoer comes in and builds on that foundation, remodels the house a little bit, as I've said before, and keeps it very similar, but at the same time within his style. And it's all going to come together. There's still discipline, there's still grind, there's still work ethic. And now we have a different type of I should say, the same type, but also a different type of mindset where you get a mesh of something really, really nice. And he's doing a great job with it. And obviously we can see that with how the players are buying in. And yeah, you're right. I do keep forgetting Dawson Merritt, and I shouldn't, because they're most likely should see something very soon on Dawson Merritt, an edge, phenomenal player, right? Yeah, if we could grab Merritt and Hill off the edge, it would be, oh man, it would be great. There's a lot of storylines within this recruiting time frame for Bama, and that's going to be really interesting.
Shout out to Matt Rule, though. He's made that Merritt battle very interesting. Yeah, I gotta give credit to that Nebraska staff. Mm-hmm. They've done a great job in that Dawson Merritt battle. I'm excited to see where he ends up. Coach Sean, I want to finish with you, but Jason, I don't think you gave your input from the outside looking in Alabama recruiting right now, and that they're on fire. What are you thinking?
Fire. I think Josh Pate might have been playing part of his interview with him earlier in the year when he did his little tour thing. But he was talking about, look, we know what we didn't know coming in here, but when you have a program like this look, it is set up for him to be successful, but he went and found top-notch recruiters that are top-notch coaches to come in. I mean, look, it's not like they can go and when they come to get you at Alabama, they want you to come be the coach. They know you can coach, and they have a system to help put in place to get it behind you. Look, he doesn't have to be a guy from the South to get recruits. He has to hire the right coaches and put points on the board when it comes to offenses. They've already got the most talent in the room. All they got to do is just go in there and tweak the little things that they needed to tweak to win again. If you go out there and you put up 10 wins and you go to the playoff this season, all is well. They're number 2 in recruiting, though. That was the big question everybody had, is what are they going to do with recruiting? And then you got people like Trojan, oh, well, Saban's doing the recruiting for him. Who gives a shit? Even if he was, they're still number 2. It is a stupid narrative because he's not coaching you. But in the end, who cares? The people that make these excuses are, it's just poverty stuff. It's stupid stuff that you're going to make excuses for why you lost this game or why you lost that game and why you're losing recruits. Look, they're getting recruits because they are doing like what Coach Sean was saying earlier about Kirby Smart. They're not trying to do everything that Nick Saban did. They're not Nick Saban. They don't need to be.
Hey, Jason, I don't mean to interrupt. I just threw this out there. I actually, guys, I got to bounce because I think I got to jump over to Coach Smook for his show because that starts at 8 p.m. Central. So,
yeah,
I much love everybody here. Thank you guys for supporting my channel. Ty,
he texted me, Jake. He said, give him the 8:15 so he can set up.
Okay, good. All right, well then we're good if we have till 8:15.
Yeah, he doing this opening.
Okay, good, cool. But 100%. I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry, my bad.
No, I think it's funny that you're not really, if you are hating on what they're doing there at Alabama, it's just out of hope that they're not going to continue to be. How many times have you guys heard me say, far be it for me to be the guy that predicts the downfall of Alabama? I'm not going to do it. Not while they have the number 1 talent roster in the country. Not going to do it with a coach that in 120 games is or less than that as a head coach, he's only lost 12. I'm good.
I think you said it best. The best word is hope. They hope that it doesn't work out. They are hoping. They praying. They cannot go through this no more. They already went through it enough. Out of all these Auburn wins, I just don't like Auburn, of course. But I'm just using Auburn because anytime you get to shit on them, it's a beautiful thing. But just think of all the Auburn wins over the years. They've been some historic wins. Like they just don't just flat out just win. It's just some historic stuff that just happened for them to win. They just want to just beat Alabama like the years when they were beating us 6 years in a row. But they know what time it is. You are the little brother of this state. Stay in your lane.
Love it. Coach Sean, bring us home. What do you think about Alabama recruiting right now?
What I think is this, and I'll keep it simple and sweet, man. The bottom line is this. When you look at these guys who are coming to Alabama, who are visiting Alabama, who are committing to Alabama, and you look at how the staff is doing it, it's completely different than what Coach Saban done. You look at the amount of recruits that they had on campus at one time. Coach Saban never had 250 recruits on the campus at one time, ever in the history of 17 years of being at Alabama. Not one time. Coach Saban never allowed cameras and coaches to have cell phone cameras on the field, giving personal messages to recruits. So the way they're going about this is completely different than what Coach Saban done. So if Coach Saban is recruiting these kids and he's not even going to be coaching there, then I would like to say respectfully, you probably, your elevator don't go all the way up to the top floor. You probably kind of in the damn food column, right?
Be careful, we're talking to you, Jordan, right?
That's just my humble opinion. Me, you clearly don't know what the hell you're talking about, and I would question whether you know a football if a soccer ball hit you in the damn face. So my thing is this: you get all these kids on campus, and these kids seeing what these guys are bringing. These kids are seeing that this coach is a real coach as far as a competent offense. They're seeing this guy's history. You take youth, you take recruiting, you take the history of Coach Saban, the history of the Alabama football, and a great coach. And this is what the resources at Alabama, and this is what you're seeing. Now, on the flip side, it's a bunch of you out there, you little critters, you little people out there that hope Alabama. That's why you got people like Matt Moscano. Like he's hoping that Keelan don't work out. And he's hoping, right? Right? What? You're hoping. You just can't believe that Alabama is still doing this well without the GOAT. So you're trying to find any little stick you can pick up and say any little thing. Well, here's the reality of it. Coach Son is here to bring you reality, see? You know what I mean? Coach Son is here to bring you the truth, because the truth is in the details, man. Alabama's going to be just fine. Alabama's going to put belt to a lot of your asses this year. And you're gonna be mad. You're gonna be upset. You're gonna say, "How could this possibly be?" You're gonna storm off with your jaws are gonna be hurting because you're gonna bite down on your teeth real hard, and you go clench your fists when the truth is right in front of you. Alabama's doing great things in recruiting. Recruiting is the lifeblood of the program. The money is plentiful. Alabama's setting a standard in NIL, what they're going to do. You can take it, you can leave it, go somewhere else, or the future's here. Dijon Lee, he's coming. Sanders, not Sanders, but the other young offensive tackle, he's coming, right? So just prepare for it, man. That's all I got to say. Just prepare for it. If you be honest with yourself, it won't hurt as bad. The truth is in the details.
Well said.
I think that the fact that they've evolved the way that, not trying to be Nick Saban, they're not.
It's a fact.
They're doing things differently. They're throwing parties and bringing in guys in a different way. Saban had his way of doing it. It's great. He's the GOAT. You can't. But what would make you think you could do it the same way as him? You know, it just doesn't make any sense. If you didn't already coach with the guy, then why would you think that? I don't know, man. To me, I think they're doing a great job. It's like I said, I'm the last dude that's going to predict the downfall of Alabama at this point, because right now they're still there when it comes to talent, and they have a coach that is proven to be a winner. The only question that you have is Womack the guy for the defense? Are they going to be able to continue where they were defensively? If you have an offense that's probably what this offense is going to be, you don't have to be the same. You just got to be, pretty good. Mostly, top 50, top 40. Right? Yeah. I mean,
you want to be top 30. You don't want to be the exception as opposed
especially to the rule. And scoring defense is in particular, that's the important one, right? I mean, if they score less, you win. So yeah, if you're top 20, top 30 in scoring defense, that offense probably should be enough to get you a lot of wins. I don't know. But I think they're going to be fine on defense too. They still have a lot of talent in the room. So if this coach is good, we'll know.
Love it. Love it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are just about 2 hours and 30 minutes into this. We have got to hop off. I have got to eat.
Yeah, me
Haven't eaten all day. I got to get something to eat. So we're going to go straight down the line, let everybody know where you can find all these great guys' content. Coach Sean, we'll start with you. We're going to end with the one and only Jance. Coach Sean, let them know.
You can find me at JMHO, Just My Humble Opinion Sports Talk on Twitter and YouTube. JMHO Sports Talk on Twitter and YouTube.
Jake?
Yeah, boom. You can find me at Twitter. You can see it down here right below, right? If you use that same Twitter handle and you search it in YouTube, then you will see my channel pop up. Otherwise, the new channel is Set the Tone, Alabama and College Football Talk. So come join in. We're going to get after it. Like I said, just came out this morning. So see a nice little welcome video. And I just appreciate everybody, the support, all these guys on here. I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for these guys, if it wasn't for you guys in the chat. Like, in the end of the day, there's no way all this would happen, right? And so I just have to say thank you. I am grateful and I am humbled, and I'm excited to bring you guys some more stuff. So
love it. Love it. Happy your channel is off and running. Brinsky.
Well, I'm Brinsky Sharp of the Sharpshooters Podcast. Y'all can just subscribe to the channel in the chat. I just posted there. Just want to give a major shout out to Jake. Super proud of you, brother. Hit the subscribe button to the channel not too long ago. It's been a long time coming. Can't wait to jump on there with you sometime. Definitely proud of all these brothers up here. They all doing great things. And I'm just loving each and every day just seeing you guys grow. learning from Ty, learning from Coach,
Facts.
learning from Jason, learning from Jay and Jake. Just super proud of you, brothers.
Likewise, man, for sure.
I'm proud of you too, man. You
100,
killing it
man.
yourself, bro. Every week. Jason Watkins, Hall of Fame College Football with Jason and the coach. You can find me at CFB-pod right here on YouTube. We're doing morning shows at least 3 times a week. Right at it'd be 10 o'clock Eastern time. It's called Rise and Shine College Football. We have Jake on there quite a bit. These guys are all welcome to be in here any morning that we go, but make sure you get over there and check us out on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Tuesday nights as well. And listen, the Saturday night snap count Saturday with Coach I and them at Fanatic Sports was unreal. We had a great time. Do that again in 2 weeks. Can't wait to be over there. So you guys should definitely go over there and check out their channels. But look, it's amazing to be able to go and work with the content creators like these guys. Enjoy working with all you guys, and every one of you guys are hard workers. And I mean, yeah, man, all sticking together on this stuff and putting out content day to day. We appreciate everybody coming in. Make sure you hit the like button on everybody's channel that's doing all this stuff. Go over there and subscribe to Jake. Coach Jay, be sharp. Thanks. I appreciate you guys always. Coach Sean, love having conversations with you. And then Ty, you know how I feel about you, man. Appreciate you having me in. Jake, we're going to get together again on Wednesday morning, and you're welcome. You guys are all welcome to come on the show tomorrow night on Tuesday. A lot of topics that we're going to get into, but thanks again for having me on, Ty.
Of course, man. Of course, always. And last but certainly not least, Jance, let them know.
Jan Sports on YouTube. If you want to see some some rants, if you like what you kind of saw here, a little taste, you can watch some of that. Also catch me on Jant716 on my Twitter if you want to do like any sort of collaborations and stuff like that. Let me know. My email, by the way, I got to start plugging in my email is Jarek946. That's also kind of more of a business kind of email as well. I got to start checking it in a little bit. But yeah, Twitter. I mean, for the most part too, I never really say this, but I'm always on Spaces. I'm always on Spaces. If you want to check me out, like on Spaces, whether it's Alabama Spaces or Bills, definitely Bill Spaces. When for the most part, I'm always on there. For the most part, like whenever like I'm working and stuff like that, I just kind of have that on the side. I'm always in Spaces talking about working at the same time. Matter of fact, I got a scheduled space I got to be in a little bit. But yeah, if you guys want to kind of catch me on some of those platforms, yeah, definitely catch me on X. Jant Sports on YouTube, of course. And then again, if you want to, hit me up, definitely Jarek946@gmail.com.
Guys, we have been on for 2 hours, 30 minutes. Thank you to everybody in the chat. If I could shout you out, each and every one of you, I would. But we would be here for another 2 hours if we were doing that, because we had upwards of 280 people in here live just on YouTube. So that's a lot of fun, guys. Thank you for making this show what it is. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for the interactions. You guys make this possible. We did have a last-second donation. Matthew Miller saying, I'm hoping I can hear some reactions. We'll see. Parker Thune said, OU has a better roster than Texas. How delusional on a scale of 1 to 10. Matthew, we'll have to answer that next time because we've been, like I said, on for 2 hours and 30 minutes. And we can go through the entire roster. I think it'd be a really interesting conversation to have. I think it'd be a really fun conversation to have. But tune in Friday morning. Maybe we'll talk about that, or we'll talk about it Monday evening. We'll have to see. But thank you for the donation, my man. Thank you, everybody, for being in here. Follow everybody who's on this panel. Follow the Fanatic Sports Network. Coach Smook, shout out to all those guys. But until next time, let me introduce you to the 7th member of the panel, the Spinning Wheel of Doom.